go to our YouTube page, Big Bear City Television.
Where I buy a pallet and get all
Do you know what I mean? And you can probably just grab the link from there.
sell it. So I added that. You know, the stuff I didn't sell, the stuff I probably should just give away. But yeah, I'm having problems clearing everything out.
You found it. You're so good. I want to be you. Because I was you when I was your age, but now I'm irrelevant in that way. No, that isn't me. Are you on Big Bear?
No, I'm on.
Oh, I was like, that, how can that?
I ended up with like a swimming pool and trampoline and things like that. So
That's just a silly
it
example.
was too difficult to deal with those items. So the next time I went to buy a pallet, I saw one that had all these smaller market boxes. And I didn't know what was inside. So I bought that because I thought, well, that's going to be easier for me to carry. Each and every one was filled with brand new clothes, tags still on, and then each one there was something big. If you wanted was a really nice pan.
And then you got it at a discounted price.
Yeah, you pay one amount for the whole thing,
Yeah.
and you know it's kind of a gamble. You don't exactly know what you're getting. No, the guy I was buying it from was in Santa Maria, and I don't exactly know where he got his house, but every time I go,
Film whatever you do.
sometimes it was like a huge
Does that change anything for camera placement?
If everybody just stays put, then people move around.
So
Then
everything
we have to stop and remind
So they are doing something different than what they did.
Yeah.
really good stuff that way. However, you get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you could do little side, if you have trades, little side quests.
It's something similar.
Basic, necessary.
Yeah, because it's, you know, a square pallet on the ground, and then they just start packing up, and they wrap it with plastic. So that when you get it, well, like, I would buy it, and then he would help me load it into my truck. And as we unload, it's like, all these things that were in there, because you can't see what's in the middle.
But now it's just gotten a little too much.
I haven't been able to do that for a while, because that was bad. I like it too much.
Match the output with the input.
Right, with the, you know, once it dwindled down, because like the good things, they sell right away.
So Grace, the last thing that we want to
Yeah,
do,
I was doing yard
once
sales,
people are seated,
and I would advertise on Big
is
Bear
to
Stores,
have things like
some,
this.
like the more expensive
And if we
things.
have decorative things that we can make
Yeah, while I was
better,
sitting there at my yard sale,
then cool. But, you know, I didn't bring props, I didn't really know how
come by
to say
and
what
pick
to
up
do.
stuff, you know, if somebody said they were on their
But
way
like
for
that would be
something,
something, but you
you know,
can't do it
I
until
just
you
set
see
it
what
aside.
shops out there a lot. And I like to just kind of like move it. If I had access to a bunch of little potted plants, I'd probably put them in that.
I survived in different places. I paid my bills for many months.
Rosie.
But then, like I say, I got down to the stuff that didn't sell immediately, and then I would,
As opposed to the
got this purse. You just never know what's in this, but it's fun, you know. As an extra thing, it would have been really fun.
Oh,
but I
they're
just
low on the list.
got a little, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to work with stuff in your house too that, yeah.
Right, because at the end of the yard sale, where am I gonna put it? And so I'd stack it up in my house, but then it comes to the point where there's too much stuff in the house now.
And then it's fun, like, you don't know what's in there. I can imagine that's like, that's
Oh
part
my
of the
God,
fun,
the
right?
whole family would get involved.
Yeah.
I want this, I want that. And at the time, my mom was, she couldn't get out of bed anymore.
Right?
So I'd take stuff in there to show her. So some things I'd let her have, and other things I'd say, okay, we'll keep this for you, but, you know, she didn't need more stuff either. What do you collect?
Well, this means
I just
you're
love
going, no,
kids.
no.
Clutter is
no.
like a one time.
You're not a collector, you don't have like
You know what I mean?
Cabbage Patch dolls you collect or anything like that?
That's usually.
And we collect things that we use. Thankfully, that's what we collect. But the kids collect a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then
And they need a lot.
That's really your workshop.
Yeah.
That's really your workshop.
But
Are any of your kids into like
yeah, like school collect random things, cards and other things like that. Ellen has a collection of weird things that she's, you know, she's somewhat organized with it now that she has her. She's got like bobblehead dolls and random. Just weird things that
That's the real cabbage vibe. No.
I'm sure there's guys where to sit.
Did you good? Did you help?
Whatever it is, we want it to be the best.
I'm just an audience member myself, so just
You know,
tell us where to go.
My kids used to have garage sales when I was at work. They used to, you know, talk to their dad and have money. It was fun to but since 2006 was gone,
But I was up in the mountains with that 2009.
Well, he thinks things are
When I
really
came back to California, he was going back to the mountains. Yeah.
Everybody like, I about that.
How long have you been?
Not that long, because we wouldn't sell it. Don't trade it to them for a dollar store truck. He would like trade it.
I don't go down the hill much at all, so. Is it for work?
Oh, well, of course,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was just like, oh, friend, like, you know, worth the thanks.
My friend wants my soccer balls.
Yeah,
Twice
yeah.
in a cut.
Hey, can I have that ball? You know, trade?
Grown, you know, so we don't do that anymore. That was.
How far down the hill?
I'm sorry if you didn't read about it. You can trade little tricks.
He would drive, and so I was
He
like,
wouldn't.
well, I mean, you're, you know, he was obligated to take them away, but like there were certain things I would just go get them for him.
yeah, it's hard for them to
Bring back down,
understand.
and, you know, so.
That
was fun. Don't miss those days.
Yeah, I remember Carrie when she had split custody. They had to meet halfway, but he never wanted to actually
Is he
drive
the
up.
oldest or the
Yeah,
youngest?
He was scared.
Tried that, and he was always.
Yeah, and there's nobody to hand it down to.
Yeah, did you wait for an hour in the parking lot?
By yourself, it was weird.
Yeah, definitely try to go down the hill as least as possible.
Is that too many people? Are we gonna all fit around this too?
We need an extension.
How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
This place is certainly decluttered.
Yeah. It's a great
Oh, I was gonna say, this is how my daughter was when we move out.
Right? I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's no admission. I think she said they're gonna be using this as the.
Maybe I might.
Did she say it's part of the?
I've been on my kinky.
A while back, I think that they over here because they used to have like a little.
I just wanted to see how you
It was like, yeah. So I was there and they were kind of closing it down and she had, like, she's like, I'm splitting it into different things, and one of the things was kind of for like kids, like she wanted them to art.
So we're gonna start in just a couple of moments. So the way the workshop's gonna go, this is for videotaping purposes, is we're not gonna be, like, don't notice us. So don't look at the cameras, don't acknowledge the cameras, don't stare at the cameras.
Easier said than done.
But one camera's gonna be on Diane, and then myself and Grace, we're gonna be in the other room focusing on the people in the audience.
Let's get you mic'd so we can.
The first part of the seminar, it's gonna be more informational. She's gonna kind of lay the groundwork of what she has to say, and then the subsequent parts are gonna be more interactive. I think I heard her say one part, she's gonna have people empty the purse or get pockets. So we're gonna kind of,
Sit with that, should stay there.
we don't know if we're gonna move the cameras or things to get close-ups and stuff, so this is a very unique kind of event.
And then have it come.
So kind of understand that we don't know what she's doing, and that's the fun part of it, you know, is that we want this to be as as the workshop that you want to experience too.
I've had 2 weeks men with their hands down.
Any questions?
No, so we'll be able to ask questions after her speech, right? That's the.
Yeah, we're going, I told her to pause, there's, I think 3 segments. So she's gonna pause at the end of the first segment, pause at the end of the second segment. She's gonna open the seminar for questions.
And how long is each segment?
I don't know,
Pull your hand out.
And we're all gonna be around that table?
not to the
Film set, but.
Are we all gonna be around the table?
table, and there's
Okay, I
some
think
other
we're-
little.
Anyone's hungry?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow, thank you.
No, that's perfect. That's great. I'd rather
Any
have the
questions?
Maybe you're only talking
All right.
about the room, like, none of that.
Thanks,
We'll get started in a second.
And I can have my.
Now, are you, we're treating this like you're not talking.
Are you what?
Yes.
People, so you don't need these.
On this doing now.
You're hoping to show it's more.
Really looking at this coffee machine. I see everything already. I see cups, I see water.
Now, lower it some, so that you can see. Yeah, you need.
Tengo moderno. Cutie. What do you call this? Membrane?
Oh,
Cutie.
But I guess that's.
Sure.
What do you call them? Clementine, yeah.
Oh, I can-
What's the difference between clementine and
Mandarin, California Mandarin.
Grace, we're gonna get Rosie's phone number, so if we need her, we can text her.
Talks about, you know.
Yeah, the cutie, because then even in French, I'm not sure si c'est comme c'est des mandarines ou des clémentines. No, that's what I'm asking.
She's amazing.
But then again, everybody calls them cuties here, so.
I started doing it. For a while, I would really help me put my drawers
Okay.
together.
so let's head on in, and we're gonna start placing everybody.
Lost the whole thing.
And what do you choose according to staggering and heights and things like that?
We're going in there.
Yes.
So, we have you sitting next to her, she's on a
I
stool.
have to rebalance as I'm getting up.
Yeah. Your hair's so pretty.
Oh, thank you. Do I have
And
a chocolate
Natalie,
on my?
you wanna sit here?
Oh, maybe a tiny bit right
And, let's see, you guys sit over here. You wanna sit here?
Oh, no.
It's healing them.
And you wanna sit next to him?
Sure, which side?
Right next, yeah. And, let's see, you wanna
I
sit
was
here?
just at lunch and I left my name tag on, but I had to put it back on,
Yeah.
so people know my.
I do a lot of woodworking.
A lot of what?
Woodworking.
Let's swap out Natalie your chair.
It's the trash.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, trash is here,
Thank you.
bathroom is through the corridor to the right side, and I think we're gonna have a bathroom break in like halfway
Do you
through
wanna
the
sit here?
workshop.
Sure.
Yeah.
Catherine, to sit there. Do you wanna sit here? Actually, can you sit there? And can you sit here?
Uh-huh. We're all grown up now.
I am very high, I feel very high.
As you should.
You get high off decluttering?
I do get really high. This is a bit unusual for me to have this kind of workshop. Usually it's a little less involved, let's say.
This is wonderful, thank you for doing this.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
Ted, how do you see your
Camera.
camera in the shot?
Alright, so we have Big Bear TV and we have members of the community. And thank you for being here. You tell me when you start filming.
Hold on.
Just a heads up, I'm feeling a little bit tense right here. It's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And maybe a little bit outside of yours, maybe not yours, because you're sitting in front of the camera. But I think it's more about sharing the information and trying to get the bits and pieces that are helpful for us, for the people that we know who could use the information in their life. And so, yeah, everybody's a big Bear local except for Gigi. Jeannie. Jeannie. Well, thank you for coming all the way from Pasadena. Wow. So it's fun. It's my third workshop here, doing it in Big Bear. And the Mystic Rose, who owns the space over there with spa and body work and all sorts of things, they're sharing the space with us for free, which is super nice. So if there's any donations at the end and you're like want to be grateful to be able to have access to knowledge and workshops for the community moving forward. A lot can happen here and in other rooms where they do sound baths and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah. And yeah.
Do you mind if I just hide these crutches behind the wall here?
That's
Okay,
fine.
thanks.
So
Thank you.
everybody's comfortable.
No, yeah. Good job. A little more, I wanna see you.
Mine's tiny, but she's darker. Everything's darker.
Alright, you tell me.
We will let you
Things are
know.
rolling. It reminds me of when I was a little kid and I was doing ballet, the end of year ballet show. I think I was like 9, and I remember the projectors in my face so you couldn't see anybody. So it feels like that, like blinded.
Go ahead and see.
I was starting. That's what it was.
That's what I like about here, is that we're so blinded, we don't see the audience.
Yeah,
So
you like that?
it makes it's like a comfort zone.
Yeah.
But it's like, they go, I know there's people there, we can't see them.
That helps, but I can definitely see you guys. It's very real to me right now.
Yes.
Eagerly
Um,
waiting.
And last summer, I was in one of the plays that they did.
Although I've been told, if you want to like relax, you can imagine your audience is all naked. I don't think that's gonna come today.
Okay, all three cameras can speak.
I've been working on it.
In trouble? You know, I'm gonna be working, shooting 3 days,
Great,
yeah.
great.
Grace, you can stop and restart, just so we can all get at the beginning of the track. Diane, if you could tell me the alphabet backwards.
Oh, gosh.
C, what? Y, Z, X,
Okay, you're good. You can start whenever you want.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here and for being willing to learn and maybe get inspired and learn a bit more about this process of decluttering and minimizing and considering the objects in our lives and how they can be helpful or not so much. My name is Diane Jacquet. Nobody can pronounce my name when they see it written down, so I call myself Artemis. And my organization is Artemis Organizing Goddess, just because it sounds fun. And so what I do is that I help people declutter and organize their homes. And before looking into the home organization piece, which a lot of people want to know about, the decluttering piece is actually, I think, the most valuable. And the goal of this educational workshop is to not just share some information about what I see going on and how I can be of help to you, but also for you to get inspired to improve the quality of your relationship with the objects, with the environment that you live in, improve that quality. And it also has sometimes a domino effect on the relationships that we have, our relationships with others, and our relationship with ourselves. And that's really the fun part of what I'm doing. My actual background is in life coaching. And so I started as a life coach 12 years ago when I lived in San Diego in Orange County. And then I moved to Big Bear about 8 years ago. And I would say that the scene for life coaching was different. And also I decided to homeschool my kid and all of that. So this whole life coaching aspect was put on the side burner, but it was always my intention to go back to it. And when I had the opportunity and the time to do so, I also realized that I'm pretty good at organizing. And one of those qualities that people see in me when I ask my dear husband, what's my number one quality? He's like, oh yeah, you're organized. And I would be like, this is not a good quality to me. It sounded so boring and so strict and so confined. But even to myself, I admitted to myself, yeah, I am organized. And I really was pushing against this and not thinking it was very useful or interesting or valuable. But when I started working with people, kind of like with friends first, on helping them organize their space, I realized, oh, it's actually a skill that can be learned, which is why you're here, because a lot of the skills can be learned. And it's also a gift and a talent that I have, that I was resisting for a long time. And now I'm realizing it's useful to other people, because we don't have all the same talents, and that's fine. And so we can help each other in different areas of our lives, and it's totally okay and it's totally acceptable. So that's my little spiel. A little challenge that came into my life. First of all, I love diversity. I love different kinds of clothes. I have arts and crafts galore, or used to have, and so I had accumulated a lot of things. And then when you move into your home, then you get more things, and then when you have a child, then they come with a bunch of things, which, mind you, they did not buy themselves. So you want to say, yeah, it's my kids, all my kids' stuff, but actually it's not. Adults, including the parents, were involved in the accumulation of things. And I have a 600 square foot home, and we have 3 people to live in it. And a lot of people say, I don't have enough space. I need more organizational tools and shelves, and I need a storage unit and a shed and all that. But at the end of the day, we work with what we have. And I had to make my 600 square foot home work, and it was very overwhelming, because I would move an object from one place to another, trying to find the perfect spot for it. That's the organization piece. but I came to realize, maybe a few years ago, that I'm missing a piece, and that's the decluttering part, that's the minimizing. Have you guys heard about a little cute Japanese person called Mary Kondo?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, everybody knows. So I really, like, did you enjoy reading her book or following her show on Netflix?
I don't follow much of it.
Yeah.
The folding?
The folding,
Clothing.
how to, yeah,
No, clothing.
Clothing.
Yeah, like you pick it up and say, does this bring me joy or?
yes,
That's what I know about it.
yes.
Is
but
that
this-
working for you? I haven't used it.
That's
what she said. I know about it. There's a
And that-
difference.
And you're absolutely right, because 10 years ago, I read the book and I was like, oh, that's cool. Does this thing bring me joy? Great, aha. And then I did not practice. And so the knowledge went completely unutilized. And I was like, oh, okay, so I will go on with my life, thinking the book is really great, but don't really apply it to my life. And then 3 years ago, I meet a friend and I go to her house. She has 4 kids, she homeschools, she's like she works, also she's busy, she makes her own food, busy person with little kids. And I go into her house, I'm like, it feels so spacious, it feels so good. And it's like, where's all the stuff? And that's when she says, well, I am a minimalist. I'm like, what is that? So I started 3 years ago researching, dabbling into what does it mean, and a lot of it has to do with shedding things away from our lives. And so I do the process a little bit, and then I reaccumulate things because I'm like, oh, this is free. I'm like, oh, this is such a good deal. You get 2, and you get a third one for free. And oh, I may need this in the future, and little by little, if we haven't checked our relationship with objects, then we can get a little overwhelmed. And that's how I felt. And facing our possessions can be overwhelming. It can be guilt-inducing. It can be embarrassing. It can be exhausting. And nobody wants to deal with it. Okay? It's not fun. But let's learn about how to make that process more enjoyable in our lives and how to use maybe a little bit of the Marie Kondo process. Okay, all of us here on the planet and here in this room, everybody's talented and accomplished in so many ways. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And some things that you're very good at, I may not be good at. And so there's no, my approach is compassionate and empathetic and non-judgmental and who cares, and let's deal with what is, and let's focus on the kind of life and environment you want to create more of in your everyday life. That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay, why are you here? I would love to go around the table. Maybe not everybody who wants to share. Everybody will have an opportunity to speak. What are you hoping to gain from this workshop? I need a brief one.
I live in a tiny house, so all the stuff that doesn't fit in the tiny house goes in the shed, and I think the shed is about to explode.
Yes.
There are things that are seasonal that go in and out.
Yeah.
I have so much stuff from the past that is very hard for me to let go of because it's sentimental. It's like, this reminds me of my trip to New York, and then my whole life came from that. No, but I'm still not gonna wear it. I feel like I need to help kind of decluttering the things that I just can't let go of.
And that's a great point. It's actually everything that we have now is a result of the past. So what we're dealing with in the present is an accumulation of the past. And so when we explore our relationship with objects and whether we want to keep it or not, bring it with us in the future, it has to do with the past too. And the sentimental objects are more easily to deal with at the end of the process. Because by the end of the process of decluttering, other things that are more easy to deal with, then you have kind of trained that muscle, if you will. And it is a practice of making decisions and making better and better decisions and making decisions that are more in tune and deep within ourselves, that are actually a reflection of who we want to be, who we truly are, as opposed to who we think we should be, or who we think we were back then in the old days, but also to be true with ourselves, and also to picture how the kind of person and the kind of life we want to have more of. Right, Krista?
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, good. Anybody else? A second person sharing what they're here for? Okay, Debbie.
Collect junk.
You collect junk.
And if I see something for free,
Yeah.
I just have to grab it, especially if it's something really good.
Yes.
And I have so much stuff.
Yes.
I need to get rid of stuff.
Yes. And why do you call it junk in the first place?
I think it's valuable.
But
And then if somebody tries to give it away, I say, oh no,
no.
I'm gonna do something with that.
Yes.
The projects, yeah.
It's projects, okay. And do you do something with that?
No.
So that's the disconnect, is that we have great intentions, we have great ideas, we have creativity, and actually a lot of the people I work with are super creative people, and they are very generous people. They also bring things in with the intention of giving them to other people, and they have great projects. And next thing you know, projects, the number of projects accumulates over the years, and so I'll get into this in more detail. But like, if we deal with our belongings and with our stuff, our objects, it's also easier to get to the projects piece, but they're connected, for sure. Yes, thank you for sharing. All right, let's learn some more. Okay, decluttering is hard, yes it is. And there is a cost to not minimizing what's unnecessary to us, and I'll get into it. So let's talk about 4 different kinds of skills that people confuse all the time. There is the skill of cleaning, there's decluttering or minimizing, there's organizing, and there's also maintaining. Those require different skill set. And people think that, you tell your kid, oh, go and clean up your room. Well, okay, do you mean removing dirt from the objects in your room, or do you mean organizing your room? Do you mean putting things back into your room? People don't realize that, cleaning the bathroom and tidying their home is not the same skill set. So you may be very good in one area and not so good in the other. And if you grew up in a family where cleaning was not done very often, or organizing was not done very often, or minimizing was not done very often, then you haven't really learned the skills by the time you're an adult. So you kind of have to start doing it. You don't have to do anything, by the way, but it's like you haven't had role models to show you how to do it. So that's it. That's just the result of the past, and we can accept it the way it is, and it's totally fine. And we just work with what we have, but what we have we're responsible for. So cleaning means removing dirt away from things, and that's something that needs to happen throughout our life. Laundry, I don't like cleaning one bit. Laundry and dishes and vacuuming from time to time, and just cleaning up after your dogs, after your children. That happens all the time. But the thing is, the more objects we have, the more cleaning there is. It's just mathematical. Or mathematical. So that's cleaning, and it's ongoing. Too bad for me. So because I don't like cleaning, I want to minimize the amount of cleaning I have to do in my life. So I'm removing objects so I don't have to take care of too many things.
Diane, I need to pause for a second.
Sure.
You got it going? Okay, go ahead.
Bueno? Okay. The second skill is what we call decluttering or minimizing. Some people call it getting rid of, or letting go, or purging. Try just to keep the word that is most empowering. important to you. I like the word minimizing or letting go or releasing, but some people say, no, I want to get rid of things. Okay, that's fine, that's your choice. And it has to do with removing things from your home or garden or storage unit permanently. That's the scary part, because that's the fear of missing out. I may need this. What am I doing? I bought this. I brought this into my house with all these great intentions. And the piece of me is gonna go out and I'm never gonna see it again. So there is some fear and there's some attachment connected to all of that. So, that's why I work with people, is to work through that, and the life coaching skills are super helpful. Usually removing things once a decision has been made, and not because we are being forced to, or because we are resisting and yet we think we should do it, or other people say we should do it. If it's done in pure awareness and willingness, then it feels like a good process. You may have, you may know people, or you may have in your life people who are like, you need to get rid of this. Or they try to come and help you and remove things from you, and then you get angry. I have clients who had this experience of working with family members, with very well-intentioned friends and family members trying to organize their home, make more space, and it created a lot of resistance and anger because things were done against their free will and their free awareness and choice. And the sense of empowerment is super helpful to have in this process. And decluttering is usually a one-time event. The more objects you remove, only the ones that don't serve you, the more space it creates, and it's done. That's it. It's not like cleaning. Then the organizing piece is to decide where objects would reside. And that's where people are a little bit more visual. You have to understand how you live your life, or how my clients live their life, what they use very often, what kind of functionality they need to have. That might depend on the stage of their life, whether they're healthy or less healthy, the things they're really into, their hobbies, their work. So this is kind of the customized part of creating functionality and having the category of objects all being together in a one easy, accessible spot. And organizing is to create functionality and to create some sense of beauty and space as well, but it's secondary to function. And then it's usually done also once every category of object, an object has its home, you know, let's say for example, this cabinet will have, you know, the dish set or whatever, all the dish set would fit in there, and not here, and there, and there, and there. That creates mess. And then you don't know where things are, and then you get frustrated, and then you overbuy, and all these good things that are a result of not having a home for your objects that are easy to reach. So same thing, once the home of the object has been decided, then it's easy to maintain it. And that's the fourth skill, is to maintain. And maintaining means also, before the maintaining piece, through the process of minimizing and organizing, the goal is to feel content with the quantity of objects you have and the objects you have. And it's like, yeah, that feels good. And when I work with clients, they usually, no, I don't want to, you know, I've already gone through my clothes, I've already gone through my kitchen, I'm good, I just want the organization piece because I'm not good at organizing. But okay, but I guarantee you, you don't need to buy one more piece of furniture, one more organizing gadget, you don't. And like, let's try what I'm proposing here. And then I realized, actually it was not as bad as I thought it would be. And I always ask them, so this pile that you're willing to let go, how does it feel to let go? It's like, it feels good. It's like, great, that's perfect. What about the quantity that you still have here? Does it feel not enough? Does it feel good? Or is it still too much? Like, no, it just feels right. And this just feels right for you, for us in our lives is what matters. Not what other people think should be the right quantity or the type of object. It's really personal. And question is any kind of images or things that come up for you as we're talking about these different skills. Somebody who hasn't talked ideally.
What would you say to someone who is like an avid collector
Mm.
of certain, like, I don't know, types of objects?
Mm-hmm.
How would they go about, decluttering or
Yes.
minimizing, or,
Yes.
like say if they collect baseball cards, for instance?
Yes, and there are people who collect baseball cards or these cute little porcelain figurines or crystals. I collected a lot of crystals in my days. So if there's a lot of emotional attachment to it, I would say don't do this part first. Do other things that you've trained on more objects that don't mean nearly as much to you. But if collecting represents a form of your identity, something you've been doing for years, something that you're hoping will have some kind of value in the future, because you're hoping to be rich selling your collection. Well, if you think you're going to be rich selling the collection, which a lot of people do, then you got to sell it at some point, because whilst it's on the shelves or in the packaging, it's not going to make you rich and wealthy. So people think they're collecting things because it's going to have a monetary value, but unless you take the action to actually sell it to a collector or on eBay or whatnot, it does not really have value besides the enjoyment that you have out of looking at those objects. But if they are in cardboard boxes tucked away in garages, you're not really enjoying those objects, are you? So the piece about joy and what Marie Kondo is talking about is super important. If it brings you joy, then you keep it. If it brings meaning to you, then you keep it. If it brings functionality to you, you use it daily or seasonally, it's being used and the spirit or the soul of the object is being truly enjoyed, then it gets to stay. Yeah? But if it's unused, unappreciated, then maybe it's time to assess, and you might have to do it one object at a time. It's kind of hard to look at an entire collection and be like, okay, I'm giving it all away. It could be this phase of your life, but if somebody has a lot of attachment and a sense of identity through it, they might need to do it a little bit more slowly. Yeah, good question. Yeah.
So, what about decluttering for other people? So my kids are all in their 20s.
Yes.
Their rooms look just amazing, but you cannot open the closet because it's filled absolutely with their stuff.
Yes.
And then when they come home, I don't want to make them go through all their stuff, and I want to just spend time with them. So
Sure.
Do I tackle it? Do I just box it all up and store it, or I'm just not sure what to do with their
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, that's a great point. We are responsible for our possessions, and our children are responsible for their possessions. If you live with a partner or a husband or a housemate, then they're responsible for their possessions. As for the things that the whole family or the whole household shares in common, then it is a communal decision. So in their case, and I think I need a sip of water here, they are responsible for their things.
So I
Not
should
you.
box them up and ship them out.
Where do they live?
Well, my son's up in Oakland, and then my girls are at college, so
Okay.
all over Davis and
Oh,
LA. And
yes.
so.
Yes, well, you could definitely hint them and say, I'm going to reclaim the space
Yeah.
because I have another use for it, or maybe I'm moving out or whatnot. And please, every time, take objects, or I can help you. You can be a support, and we can look through it together, or you can have somebody like me help them out through it, because our kids need some help to deal with the abundance of objects in their lives.
Yeah, they're very sentimental.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not. I do like to throw things away and get rid of
Yes.
things, but they like to keep everything.
Everything.
So yeah, it's a little crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Yes, and the challenge with doing it for other people, and that's the mistake that I made when my kiddo was younger is that I would make those decisions for him. And then he remembers, but where's this teddy? Where's this gone? I'm like, yeah, I think it's gone to a thrift store. And like they remember, right, honey? But thankfully I've learned from my mistakes that people want to have a sense of power and agency and decide for themselves. Now the parents may have, us as parents, we may have a bit of responsibility, and the grandparents and everybody, the family and friends, to bring in more things for our children to have to deal with. And if they're little, they don't have the brain capacity to deal with a large amount of objects. And so we may make their life a little bit more complicated. Yeah. So say, these are your objects.
Okay.
And please next time you come, bring them with you. Yes, and I can help you sort through it. You're welcome.
Okay, that's a good spot for a quick little break. We have to restart the cameras and everything, so
Sure.
just take a breather for a second.
Okay. I know you had a question, Cheryl. Do you want to ask me a question?
Oh, I mentioned to you when I met you at Earth Day
You can cut all of them.
that my husband loves garage sales.
Yes.
Want me, things like that.
Yes.
He has so much stuff.
Yes. And he can have his own. Can he have his own designated space?
Yeah, that's right.
So he can have his own designated space for his things, but there needs to be some kind of boundary so that you also have your own little safe haven, but the number of objects is not something you need to deal with. So whether he climbs the garage or a shed, or you need to have some kind of room or living space that is your space. And he has a space of the home or that is his. And he can accumulate as much as he wants it there. And you close the door, you don't look at it. Right?
Good point.
Yeah. Because it can spill over, and it's important to have some kind of boundaries around that. It's not easy, but same with the kids' room. It's your room. You get to handle it. It needs to stay clean because I don't want no rodents or mice or ants, starting to creep in. Why not? So,
In the fridge right there, she's just. I'll grab you. You want water? Yeah. Anybody else wants a water? Since I'm at it. Okay.
Sometimes the problem with that is that they're like, yeah, I want to get rid of
Here's
this,
the battery.
That goes on the counter there. Not in the bag, just out on the counter.
yeah, it could be, but that's the thing is because they haven't learned to know themselves well enough to know that what they're buying, what they're asking as a gift is going to be
Worthless to them.
fulfilling, exactly. Yeah.
but then you have to realize that they'll just sit there and that's what makes me feel better.
I'm opening every door, like, they're locked, I don't know where the bathroom is.
Thank you. I would have been on time, what time is it now?
Baseball player.
It is 7:20, great.
Oh, wow, yes. It's good start, time to see. Do you guys bring any purses by any chance? Like, do you have like a handbag, a purse, or something with you?
And mine is minimalist because I have to carry it around my neck right now.
Yours is in your car. Thing. So for the
I have one at
exercise.
home
Yeah.
filled with junk.
Yeah. So what would be, if you don't have a person, I would love at some point for you guys to gather things that maybe in your car, create a few objects so we can do an exercise towards the end of the presentation. Yeah, so if you don't have a purse with you, just grab some, whatever you find in your car. But, yeah, in the
Fit in here.
compartment, passenger seat, under the seat.
Shall I go down?
That, sure.
Yeah, Arnie,
perfect.
keep the
A more
toys that
that-
bring you a lot of joy, the clothes too.
Okay, we can speak. Wait a minute, are we losing her?
She's coming back with
Okay.
stuff, so we're good. Do you need her to come back?
She's coming back with stuff, right?
Yes, she's coming back with stuff.
Or is she going home?
No,
Okay.
she's getting things
So
from
we're
the
just,
car.
you're not ready to go yet, Diane?
Oh, there you go, relaxing.
Thank you for all that clutter.
With joy.
From surgery.
And acceptance.
I like my clutter.
Yeah, of course. That's good, I think that's great.
No, no pictures.
So where is Flo?
At the beach.
Some like yeah.
Just strong rehab.
What kind of subjects does she need to study?
She has like 6
Oh my gosh, didn't I see you on the Mud Academy? Didn't I see you in the Mud Academy? You're famous. I see you all the time, every day on my screen.
So are you coming to the screen a good week?
I know you don't.
Okay.
He is.
And it's all 3 nights.
All 3
I
nights,
enjoyed it,
6:30,
but out of all
Thursday,
things,
Friday,
it
Saturday.
rains,
Thursday, we
it's
can't
not
take
my
any more
favorite.
people, but
But I
But
did
we're welcome
enjoy,
to all of them.
I do,
if you want
it's
to,
fun,
yeah.
it's
I
fun.
thought they're doing
I don't think I
Wanting to
want
learn it.
I don't want to give it away, but
Sorry about that, but it's there.
you don't know yet? Okay.
Do something else.
He told you.
And these people are really like motivated, you really want to
We
learn
got
the language
secrets.
and then it makes it fun.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay, are we all back in yet?
We're missing a person,
Okay.
but we can keep rolling maybe, or no?
Are they gonna come in with a bunch of stuff? Is that what it is? It's gonna stop us?
Maybe.
Okay.
We have our first premiere this Thursday night of our kids program called the Mud Academy.
Correct.
In which Neo is. He's a
Sorry.
part of.
Yeah.
And your Grace's brother is in it too.
And if you listen carefully, you might recognize some voices in this room that will,
We're having a red carpet.
Like we also have,
Off the
you
red
know,
carpet.
3 of the main
Yeah,
stars.
reporters there.
We have Miss Percy,
Famous
we
moment.
have Coco,
What time is it on
We will
Thursday?
guidance
wear
counselor,
our
Miss
most
Patrick.
beautiful red
And
carpet
2 other characters.
attire.
We got everybody but 1 character. We're just missing Michelle's voice.
No,
We can do it.
Big Bear TV,
Okay.
yeah. In October, everything will be on BigBear.tv, but right now it's just on Roku and Fire Stick
Okay.
or Android phone.
I looked it up and saw something on Facebook about it because we were trying to figure out where.
We're
you
trying to
actually
figure out
access.
how to be on the internet and not be on the internet. Meaning, we
Yeah.
want this to be TV, like
Right.
the one we grew up with.
Yeah. But
Kids
nobody
don't
has
watch
that anymore.
Right,
Yeah.
trying to reinvent it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The whole concept of Big Bear TV, just the 1-minute plug, is we all grew up on network TV, which is the whole world comes together and creates a show, right? Well, because of the cost of production being very minimal now, you can have your own local network. So we're creating shows like Maid Wars and Handyman Hero, things that are familiar to us, that make us unique. And we're having fun with the whole concept. So we're hoping that over time, people will want to tune in and want to go back to watching television the way we have it. What's neat about it is it's 100 channels.
Wow.
And the goal of the network is to actually create a whole nother industry up here where people see, right now everyone works in tourism. Well, what if there's a day where we have another industry where we're creating, with the tourism industry, there is secondary and ancillary industries that we can create For example, we're doing a deal with the hospital. Who's going to create that content? What kind of content? You know, we could have a whole team working on that all year, just creating content for the hospital. You know, so the vision is to create other industries to help the community grow and not be so dependent just on tourism. So that's the intention. We're working with Kat over here, who's our improv coach. She's doing a show called Role Play, where we're using role play in everyday life. We were just at one of the political associations teaching them how to do door knocking using improv.
They had so much fun. It was great. And we had some good feedback from it. They had one person sign up to be a canvasser, go knock on doors because they're all terrified of doing it. But the improv helped get out of their comfort zone.
I think we lost our extra person, so we better get back to business because we got a lot of batteries burning.
I see the advent of television.
That's more than a break.
Everyone's producing now on their phone. So we can, you know, the problem with Facebook content is it's there for 24 hours. So I'm trying to say, well, what if we have good content on Facebook that's local that we want more than a 24-hour or 48-hour period for people to see? So that's what, this is in rotation. So it's constantly, our music video channels, constantly running music videos. And I want that to inspire children and adults who maybe didn't have a shot to have a music career, to have their own music videos.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and roll, Grace, and we'll go ahead and roll Ted. Everybody's speeding?
There she is.
Yeah, speeding.
Okay, this is segment 2, come on in.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Cheryl. I think you took a lot of things from your car. Not too bad. I'm good. Pretty good. My purse.
And so just stay awake.
Interaction, Diane.
Fall asleep.
Okay, so we're good?
We're good.
Okay. So what is clutter? Any definition?
My house. My shed.
Shed. What else? What's the definition of clutter? Things you don't need, okay. Too much. So we got an idea of unnecessary items for your life. And an excess, too much stuff, excess, too much of a good thing or maybe too much of a bad thing. Any other definition?
Or maybe things that don't have a place to live, like you were saying, you know, that it's just, where do I put this?
Yeah.
It doesn't have a
Yeah.
home,
It doesn't have a home, exactly.
so it's everywhere else.
It's yeah,
It moves up something else's home.
okay, any other definition?
Yeah, all that extra stuff.
Extra stuff.
Like we have in doubles.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have a lid. That stopped working, but it's, you don't want to throw it away.
Yeah,
It's electric.
broken items, yes, things like that. And basically, my definition of clutter is that it's anything that is in the way of the kind of life you want to have.
Like the things from my ex-wife that is under my house.
Exactly. Yes. So think about the unnecessary item, excess, and things that no longer serve you, and they are in the way. Instead of being objects that, or things or projects that are helpful and propelling you towards the future you really want to have, it's actually a hindrance. It's a blockage. It blocks the flow of energy. It distracts you. It creates overstimulation, and it's usually the result of unmade decisions. And every piece of object, this piece of paper, this cup, this bracelet, everything that we own requires some kind of decision or several kinds of decision. The decision to bring it home, that's a decision. The decision to move it somewhere, the decision to use it, the decision to fix it, the decision to try to forget about it. So it's a lot of brain power that's being used And I'm gonna say, it can be an interference with rest, with play, with relationships, with work, because it's just too much to deal with. And I wanna say, it's not your fault. Not really. It's our responsibility, but it's not really our fault. And the piece that is kind of unique to the day and age we're living is that the amount of physical objects is huge compared to what our ancestors had to deal with. So think about your grandparents, your great-grandparents. Did they have the same stage of their life that you're in? Did they have the same amount of possessions that you did, or that you have right now?
I feel like my grandparents, because they grew up through the Depression times, where you don't throw anything away because you might need it, so you save it. So
Yes.
did have a lot.
For them. So I'll get to this point exactly. So let's think a generation further, and then further, and 100 years ago, 200, 300, 1,000 years ago. Do you think that our ancestors had the same amount of physical things that we have now?
And they used to fix it. If it was broke, you'd fix it. You didn't throw it away and go buy another one.
Exactly.
You know, it's now we can just order it on Amazon. If it's broke and we don't know how to sew up something, like it was just $10 on Amazon. Just buy it again.
Yeah.
Certain objets like the house,
All the
insurance, and
Yes. They didn't have
taxis,
paper. They didn't have paper at all.
Yeah.
Sorry?
They didn't have no paper.
No, yeah,
No
yeah,
paper.
yes, yeah, of course,
Yes.
yeah.
Then maybe like a handshake, and that was your deal.
That's it.
Oh, yeah?
What about those countries where they don't even have a word for trash cans?
Mhm.
Because trash doesn't exist. Everything is used completely.
Yes.
I love that.
Right?
It's like,
Yes.
you eat everything that's in front of you. Nothing is made of plastic. There is never any trash.
That's right. And so what we're living in is a culture of amazing abundance, but it's very unique to the history of humankind. And it started in the Industrial Revolution when machines started producing things faster and cheaper. Before, people used to make their own clothing. And so think about the people who moved and immigrated in this country 250, 300 years ago. They might have 3 dresses and an apron and a coat and maybe 1 pair of shoes if they were lucky. And everything would fit into some kind of suitcase. And that's what they would travel with. So we're not dealing with the same reality at all. And so everything is at our fingertips. Everything is free or cheap, or everything is meant to get us to buy more, consume more, have more and more desires. So it is a constant struggle that we have to deal with in this modern society. Okay, all right, I said that. We also have a biological aspect to us that is preventing us for minimizing and decluttering easily. And that's because our ancestors of long ago used to farm their food, grow their food, or harvest the roots, or they used to hunt. And so there would be a period of sowing, and it would take time. And then there would be a harvest, or the hunt would finally be successful, or it was the right season to gather all these berries. And then you had plenty, all of a sudden, abundance, yeah, hooray, celebration. There'll be big celebration and harvest time and festivities. And then what would happen after that? What happens after the celebration of harvest and the gathering of all the food?
You start all over again.
Yeah. You store it. You keep it. You preserve it because winter will come, or the game would be gone, or the berry season is over, or the root vegetables are not really ready. So you would keep it because you know there would be a rainy day. Well, what you usually eat is not going to be available for a certain period of time, usually months. So we are wired to want to keep for a rainy day. And it's great, and it served us well as human beings, but now it's a little bit of a challenge because the just in case I might need it does not apply to the same level of survival and food being so basic, or preserving water as well, so important. So we have that challenge in the modern world. And also, you talked about generational lack. And when you have grown with lack, whether it's because of war, the Great Depression, your family was very poor, everything was so important, you needed to keep everything because it was so valuable. So there's a lot of that, and
My grandparents were farmers.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma.
Yeah, there you go. So we honor that too, and there's also, when we have a lot of clutter, it could also be the result of childhood trauma and challenges. When you were maybe a kid, the only thing you may have had control and power over were maybe your clothes, maybe not even. And so when you come into adulthood and you finally have the option to have a voice, to decide, to use your own money, then you're like, this is mine, and I'm going to keep it, and nobody's got to say anything about it. And that's a way to feel empowered, because some of us didn't have too much power or ways to express themselves growing up. And so that's how it gets reflected in our things as well. And societal norm, especially in the US, number one capitalist, consumerist country on the planet by far. The land of plenty, it's a land of abundance, it really is, and it is a gift in many ways for which we can be very grateful. But it also comes with its host of challenges because it sometimes is unchecked and out of control. And American marketers are particularly good at placing the right objects on the aisles and creating the little cartoons for the kids to ask their parents, I want this, I need this. And making us also somehow attach our worth with how big our house is, the kind of car we drive, the kind of jewelry and clothes we own. It gives us a sense of social status. And the association between self-identity and our objects probably has been around for a long time. I think it's particularly strong, and especially when you look at TV and advertisement. Like, you have the better life if you have this car. Or if you wear this perfume, you're going to be amazing, and you're going to be this new person. And subconsciously, a part of us kind of accepted that as being true. Any questions so far? Do you agree with this? Like, does it make any sense? Or you're like, what is she talking about? Yes? Okay. So it's not really our fault. But what it is our responsibility. And so I just want to talk about now the cost of clutter. In the US particularly, the cost of housing has gone through the roof. And a little statistic that in the late 1700s, a house used to be about 830 square feet and would house about 6 people in it. That's right.
180 square feet?
830 square feet, and it would house about 6 people. 100 years after that, so let's say the early 1900s, the house was just a little bit bigger, 940 something square feet, about 100 square feet, more or less, and would house 5.5 people. But what
bigger.
space. We are all gaining a little weight, we need more space. But, okay, so if our houses have gone bigger, it's not been to house more people, it's been to house more stuff. And I think it tells a lot about our culture, how it's gone, and how we may have missed the mark on what's truly important in life. So that has a huge cost. Okay.
And we all have our own cars. Back in the days, it was one car per family.
Yes.
Now it's everyone.
Everyone's
Car.
zero.
Or zero.
Or zero.
Bicycle. Yeah.
Yes. So that's huge. In the US, storage spaces, huge industry.
Oh,
You want to
yeah.
start a business, start a storage space, because it's an industry that keeps on growing. And about in 2018, there was one storage unit for every 14 Americans. And so that has a cost, and it's huge. And if you do it, it's only $150 a month. Or like, it's only $300 a month. Well, if you multiply this, it adds up. And next thing you know, you spend $20,000 on storing objects you're not using, and it's really hard and challenging. It has clutter has a cause on stress as well. 55% of Americans stated that the lack of organization due to clutter was a major source of stress. Medical research has found that stress caused by clutter affects your ability to get a restful night of sleep. The more stuff you have, the harder it is to relax. Why? Because the more objects, the more stimulation. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking you need to deal with things.
That I agree. Because when I came here, to Liège, I was free.
Yes.
And after an hour, I was a car and all these things, and buying mine more.
Yes.
It's too much.
We get caught in the process without realizing it, and then we're like, shoot, what happened? My life used to be more simple, and I did not lack anything back then. Okay, getting rid of clutter would eliminate 40% of housework, says the Soap and Detergent Association study. It's a real organization, apparently. In extreme cases, clutter makes a home less safe, and there could be some safety issues of tripping over things, especially as we're aging, or somebody's getting sick, or somebody has mobility issues. It can create some challenges, and sanitation issues, and belongings that are not being used, that are stored away in a box, or that are far away in that corner, attract little critters a lot. They love those untouched spaces. Kids do better with fewer toys. That's what research says, right? Neo, do you agree? Yeah.
He makes his own toys too. The instruments and stuff. Yes.
Researchers have found that being around disorganization makes it harder for your brain to focus. It can be especially tough with people with ADHD. There's a big correlation there. I work with people who have ADHD or who are on the spectrum, who just have a hard time getting organized. And that's okay, that's just the way their brain works. But that's why I advocate even more to look through the process of minimizing to make their life simpler, because it's even more challenging with people who have ADD or ADHD in general to keep their house functional in the first place. It's harder to make your best and healthiest choices in a cluttered, messy, or disorganized environment. Studies show. Weight gain. A study by researchers at Florida State University mentions that cluttered homes were 77% more likely, the people with cluttered home were 77% more likely to be overweight or obese. And yeah, there's a correlation between weight and clutter, absolutely. And it could also be related to trauma, and also maybe some, the way people Journal of Psychology reported that subjects consumed more cookies when in a cluttered home than a tidy one. And that's the better of
Is it because it's just the easiest thing to access? The
It
cookie
could
box?
be. It's just harder to make good decisions, healthy decisions, and decisions that are more long-term focused for the benefit of you and the people around you when you have more stimulation. It just is harder for the brain because the brain needs to compute a lot of things at the same time, so you go for the easiest thing
Easy to distract oneself with food and to
to deal
deal
with
with
it.
clutter.
Absolutely. And that's the part that is hard is the overwhelm and the embarrassment or the guilt or the emotional challenges that come with our things. And that's something that is very often the case is that people who know they have too much stuff, they feel embarrassed, and then they don't want to invite people into their homes. And then they're shutting off people from their lives because they feel that, I know I should be doing something like this, but yet they're having a hard time to make those steps. And also the guests who are coming into the house, sometimes they might be wondering, where do I sit? I'm supposed to eat here. Where do I put my plate? Because if there's no room, we don't necessarily feel welcome into a person's house. And there's a little psychology component to it, with which I'm not going to go into, but that is also a side effect of having too much stuff, is to feel embarrassed and not having people in relationships into our lives. And that's gotta stop, because we can accept the way we are, and that's fine, and people who truly love and care for us will be accepting of who we are right here, right now, and will be willing to support us on whatever journey we're on. So help each other out, and if you know anybody who is in this case, just love them the way they are and accept them the way they are, and then point them in my direction. All right, do you guys have any questions, or did anything show up that you want to talk about? Yeah, see you nodding.
I know, but I want other people to
Yes, who hasn't spoken yet? Cheryl, I think you spoke, but you are speaking off camera. So does something come up for you? Can you think of a situation, or things you can relate to?
Well, one thing is, my husband's not overweight, so that's not his issue. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something from when he was young. He wants to hold on to things.
Yes.
But I can't always blame him for everything, because there was a point when I kind of gave up trying to declutter and trying to straighten. And
These things.
I just found that I'm starting to do the same thing. So I need to work on it.
Sure. And sometimes it's because it's a little confronting, because it's a little uncomfortable, then it might be easier to just turn towards somebody else, like they're like, okay, it's because I lost somebody, it's because I inherited something, it's because my husband is into collecting mechanical things, and that's fine. I mean, it's their business. Their business is their business, but we can be just responsible for what we're responsible for. If I brought this object into my house and I have 35 cups, and I come to the realization that maybe I have too many, maybe I don't need 35 cups, maybe I live by myself, and maybe I need just one cup. Ooh, that means I have made those decisions to bring all those things into my life. And it's hard. It's hard because you realize, I made some bad decisions in the past, or I've made decisions that I thought would be great, and in the end, then not really. And I want to put myself on the spot, because I'm human too, and I have this tendency of wanting to grab onto things, free things, pretty things, shiny things, things I think I might use. And so, not long ago, like only a few months ago, I brought in a bag on wheels because I was going to use it at the farmer's market. I buy 5 pounds of oranges and it's heavy to carry on my, on my side shopping bag. So I bought this bag. And because I was like, ooh, this is cheap. A deal, it's got wheels, perfect. I bought it and then the thing was defective. And I was like, oh, I made this decision, silly me. And so I tried to hold on to it, but I did buy it for this purse. I'm trying to use it. I'm going to the farmer's market. The wheel is going wonky like this. Things are like spilling over almost. And it's frustrating time after time after time. Until I was like, okay, I'm going to do bag decluttering. And I have to come to terms with the fact that I made a bad decision. I made a decision that I thought was going to be useful for me. And I went cheap, and then I realized I also have a gazillion bags. Really, who needs 20 bags? So do I, because I have some in the car, some in the other car, some in the basement, some in this room, some in that room, some for every day, some from time to time. And when you come to try to use both sides of your brain, not just the I like it and it's, ooh, it looks so pretty. When you also try to use the other side of your brain, that is a little bit more logical, and that tells you what you actually need, and how many bags can you carry at any given time. Well, I had to let go of some of the bags, and I had to let go of the one bag that I thought was a great idea, but was not. So we're responsible for our possessions and the decisions we've made, not others, ours. But we can create boundaries if other people's things are taking over the family room and and our office and this and that. At some point we have to say, okay, hold on, you gotta stay here in this compartment because here's the family room, or here's where we watch TV, or here's where I work. So that's when we live with other people. That's the case.
My daughter just had to go through a move from Texas and was able to get everything that she could carry. And that's it. That's all she has right now. And I just,
How did you do that? How did you? I know. That's amazing.
and she said it was hard, but I mean, she had to get rid of all her clothes because she couldn't carry them.
Yes. Sometimes we push to make those decisions, and it's actually for the better. But if we're not pushed to make this decision, like if we're not downsizing to a smaller home, then we don't really have an incentive to do it. We can just keep the status quo. And what I'm advocating here is let's take a little action. Let's see where this is leading, and let's see if this is helping. You know.
And I don't know if you remember 2 years ago when we were all kind of in the evacuation zone for the fire that was up here.
Yeah.
I remember with Natalie, we talked a lot about how do you get fast to the things that you know for sure you're gonna grab.
Yes.
And how is it organized and what do you grab? And I remember that was a good incentive for us to be like, okay,
Together some boxes, just like if I need to grab and go.
if everything's gotta burn, what are we keeping?
Exactly. That's a great way to kind of make yourself change your perspective and like what is truly essential, and I love that. And some people, that was actually my next point, which is fantastic. So what is the investment of time and money that's needed to go through this process? And the fastest possible way would be to have a giant fire burning your entire house. Or a flood, or the evacuation process, which happens to some people. Okay, and that is not desirable, but I've had clients say to me, I wish this garage would just burn down. And I would start from scratch. And I'll say, yes, that's one way to look at it, but I would not suggest this is the best way. But it's true. Some people say that. I wish had a clean slate, and you could do that. And other people would be moving, so that's definitely a good motivation. Or you can make yourself pretend that you're about to move and downsize to a small place. Like, okay, I'm gonna pretend my home, my next home is gonna be half the size. What is excess? It's like peeling the onion, the proverbial onion. What is not serving me? What do I really want to keep in my life? That's one shift that could be of help as well.
Okay, we have to take a quick cut just because we hit the 30-minute mark. And if anybody needs to use the restroom, everybody good? Okay, let's have all the cameras cut. And then go ahead and re-slate or restart.
Chance, do you have an outlet, a base that fits this?
Possibly.
No, we want to have it. It's towards the end of it. Yes, for the camera.
I just wanted to charge this.
This is good stuff. You're good at this.
I'm good, I'm glad. And that's the main
It's making me
thing.
think,
That's right.
why do I
Yes.
have all this stuff?
That's the main thing. That's the most important.
I always do this. I was told if I die like tonight, what do I want people to find? Right? I don't want them to have to go through it.
On the ranch, they have where they film. They have like a studio and a sound stage, so we're gonna have a show.
Right?
And I mean, super clean, super organized.
Can I send you?
Way too much of it. Way too many socks, way too many.
And make sure you come this week to see our first, improv show. It's a playback, it's a film show, but it was improv with kids and 30 to 40 people from Big Bear.
Yeah, very organized, but it was just like.
Is everybody re-rolling?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is segment 3.
Like, of my house, the whole Bedford had just shirts. And they're all like, maybe more than once.
That's amazing.
Okay, we're 1 hour and 50.
Diane, I related to where you were at. I last summer moved everything I owned into a van. And boy, do you learn how much excess you have when everything, and I had a bed in the van, so it wasn't just like filled with stuff, it actually had to be livable in there. That'll do it. What you learn is all those Olive Cat's memories that she's got, you can take pictures of and send them up to the cloud, and digital memories,
Exactly.
All right, we're back.
Oh, okay. So the fastest, fire or flood or whatever, I would not recommend it. Still pretty fast to declutter. Is what a friend of mine did. She emptied everything else out of the house, and she went like, I'm going on a big purge. I'm getting everything out and still going, and so throwing away dump runs, yard sales, and everything. Or trashing, a lot of trashing actually. And then I went back into the house a few months later, and a bunch of new stuff made its way back in. And so, yes, you can do things into one big sweep, like this. Thank you. And it would be done fast. Like you open your garage and you tell people to take whatever you want, and that could be pretty fast. Or you do the dump runs, or you hire the junk removal company, and they're gonna get things out of the house into the dump where it's gonna be rotting nicely. And it could work. But if one's tendency is to grab onto things and to bring things more into our lives without, like, the part of the relationship with the object has not been fully learned. And the awareness of what really brings you joy and fulfillment and meaning and usefulness has not been, the awareness is not quite there. And the whole point of working with people is to help them with this awareness piece, because otherwise the pattern can just repeat itself, okay? But it would be a great help to start with a clean slate, and some people opt to do that. The still pretty fast, but not as fast as the other option is to hire a professional organizer, hello, and to help you declutter and then organize and to create a functional space. So it's done more efficiently because you got tools, you've got guidance, you've got coaching, and you are somebody who's going to keep you on focus and who's going to keep you accountable. And like, okay, we define the vision, we define what it is you want to do with your home, with your space, to reclaim your living room, your closet, your garage, whatever it is you want to reclaim as being useful and enjoyable. But you're going off in different directions, and so the home organizer is going to keep you concentrated and reminding you and making you accountable for what it is you wanted to do, and also making those decisions faster and faster and faster. The first session is usually a little bit on the slower side because we're learning new skills, we're thinking differently, we're letting go. And then as we probably, if we're doing a second session and a third session, then it gets easier, and people might have considered themselves, oh, I'm a bit of a mess, I have a lot of problems, I'm not good at this is so hard. They realize during the process that it gets easier and easier when they have the right guidance. Not people pushing them to do things they don't want to do, but them being fully in a driver's seat and deciding what they want to truly do, and it's on their term. But I will remind them, and I said I'm going to push you a little bit outside of your comfort zone because change is usually a little bit uncomfortable. But then it's the relief and the freedom and the simplicity and the realization, I can actually do this. I thought I was clueless and bad and just like, I'm a big mess. But actually, I am regaining self-esteem, and I actually can do this. Maybe I need some support. Maybe I need somebody by my side. But maybe I can do this by myself too. And that's really helps to let go of this belief that we just can't handle it. But that doesn't mean we should handle everything by ourselves, okay? So accept the help if it would be beneficial to you. And as well, you're going to learn the process and you're going to learn a working system. And once the decluttering and the organizing piece is done, it's a project and it's done and over with. If the decluttering has been done well, it's a one-time event and you don't need to do more. And if the organization piece works and is functional for your lifestyle, then it's done and over with. And it's not something that's going to happen over and over again. The last piece is just to maintain it. And we'll talk about this a bit later. The slowest time investment is to DIY it, to do this with basically every object you have. And that could take a very long time. The average American person owns 300,000 objects. And that's a lot. That's a lot. So if you have to make a decision, do you think that all of these objects are useful, needed, enjoyed, valued? No. A lot of them stayed at the back of the closet, in boxes, untouched, unused. And I've gone to some people's houses and just going into the living room, I scan and I'm like, I think there's 500,000 objects in this room alone. And so it's going to take more time. Think about 10 objects. Can you go through 10 objects and be like, yeah, I love this, this is useful, I adore this, my kids really love that, perfect. I keep it, and that I don't use, I'm letting it go. 10 objects? It's fine. What about 100? What about 1,000 objects? 10,000? 100,000, it gets harder and harder. So I'm not proposing to do a whole, let's redo everything. It gets very overwhelming. So we're just starting bit by bit. But the DIY process is a long process, depending on the amount of objects you have and depending on the sentimental attachment you have to those objects.
How do you get over that one?
Do you have sentimental ones?
Yeah, I mean, I have so many t-shirts,
Yeah.
you know, from this event, that event. I don't know how to get rid of them.
annoying.
So I say you'll have to work with me. And it's mostly, and it's not as difficult as people think it is.
Can we get her, Grace, can you get a type on her saying, asking that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Can you move your water
Focus
bottle
on-
just a little bit, so yeah.
Cause his, hat is in the way of perfume, so I'm like, I
There
really
you
don't
go.
get it for
So I just wanna get that question, because I think that's what we all, that's one of the hardest ones, is the emotional one.
Yes. Okay, Daddy.
Hold on, Dan's gonna
Not
double
okay.
check.
I have trouble remembering lines.
That's fine. You can have a few
First line I
takes.
got in the movie, I said it wrong. But they used it, so I guess it was okay.
Oh, there you go.
Go ahead.
How do you get over the emotional aspect of getting rid of things?
Mm-hmm.
I have so many things that I try and get rid of them, but I think, oh no, I want to keep that, the memories of,
Yeah.
of that. How do I
Yeah.
get over that?
It's a very common question, and we all have sentimental attachment to certain things. So as I've said before, don't start there. If you haven't practiced the skill of minimizing and letting go of other non-important objects, easy decisions to make first. Easy. Yes, I love this. This is easy. I use it all the time. Easy. You know that about yourself. And there could be some easy decisions also, like, I don't use this, I haven't used this, it doesn't have any meaning for me. So you do that process. Easy decision, easy decision, easy decision. Once you practice that skill, you are going to start getting closer to the question marks. Like, oh yeah, I like this, but it could be used again, or I used to use it, I don't know if I'm going to use it again. So, but by then you would have practiced the decision-making skills. And the last piece is the most sentimental items, and don't touch this until the end. Here's what, some people have sentimental attachments, for example, to clothes. You know, they might have a very strong identity to their clothes. They used to be a model, or they used to present themselves a certain way, and so clothes would be a big piece, or shoes, or purses. For other people, the most challenge would be paper clutter. They have kept all the paper because they think they need it, because they might have some sentimental attachment to it. Maybe it was their lost husband's business receipts. And even more sentimental could be photographs. Photographs are really hard to deal with. Do not start with photographs. And do not start practicing the skills to deal with objects that belonged to somebody who's passed. Don't start there. Please don't. Or if it was somebody who used to be in your life, like a relationship, an ex-person, or maybe our children who used to live in our space and now they're not here, we don't stop there. So practicing the skill on those easy decisions first. Does that answer your question? Or you still like
that helps.
Okay.
And then once you're there, though, once you uncluttered the non-sentimental thing and you get to the sentimental,
Yes.
what do you do?
Well, by then it's like you would have started riding this bicycle and you'd be like, oh, I can't keep my balance, and it's less triggering. And you can keep your center. And you've used both parts of your brain, like the part that's like, ooh, I like this, emotion, and the part that is logical, of like, do I need this? Have I used this in the last 12 months? do I really want to take this into my future life? And this is using the logical part of our brain. Because the emotional part of our brain is going to be hijacking us a lot.
I have a hard time with that logical part, like with t-shirts, old t-shirts. I always save them, I'm like, oh, I have a sewing machine, I can make it into a blanket.
Yeah.
And then I'll have, you know, a blanket of all that sentimental stuff, but it's the project stuff that you never do.
Yeah.
It just sits there.
It's there, and projects was big for me too as well, and so, yes. So you're right. The cost, what cost? If you do it, DIY it yourself, it's not gonna cost you anything, but it's gonna cost a lot of your time. And the cost will depend on how many objects you have, right? So that's the investment. So let's do a bit of exercises here. Think about the clutter in your life. What is the one type of thing that is driving you nuts, or it's embarrassing, or too hard to deal with? Anybody would like to volunteer to show what that would be? You mentioned t-shirts, more t-shirts.
Craft supplies.
Craft supplies.
Oh, I was just gonna say, mine is like the paper, like there's, you know, you accumulate stuff, and you're like, oh, I just don't have mine organized, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have too many.
Yeah, I do have too many, but some of it's important, because, you know, it's like, okay, we got 3 retirement accounts, we got, you know,
Yes.
our old home information that we've already, you know, just there's a lot of stuff when you have lived a little bit more life that you do have to hold on to, but not all of it.
That's right.
And so, you know,
Yes.
organizing is just like, just some other time, I'll shove that back there, it's all there.
Yeah.
It's there for when I need it, maybe, and then I think, like, what if I died? My kids would be like, I have no idea what to do with any of this information, or whatever, you know, so
Yes.
it's blocking, it's a block,
Yes.
so.
It is. And so I want to add a little tip about paper clutter. And about life in general. What do we want to bring into our life? So when you go to the post office, what kind of paper do you want to bring into your home? Maybe right there and then at the post office, you do not bring in certain pieces of paper. You don't bring in the junk. You only bring in the documents that are going to be needed for the long run. Maybe you need to keep evidence that you own a house or a vehicle, maybe a passport, maybe your ID, maybe you actually do need that debit card or that credit card that you use all the time. But what about the offers of all the credit cards you get through the mail? What about all the paper and the junk you get through the mail? Don't bring it in unless you're actually planning on making a decision about it, taking an action about it. So the decision process can happen right there and then, because it's very easy to get inundated with extra paper and extra temptations. So that has to do with the influx and stopping it there. And for the paperwork, the goal of paper for me is to have almost no paper in my life. Now, I have not reached this goal, but some people have. I don't know how they do it. They're my heroes. But it might not be your goal, but realize that notes, you know, maybe you've taken a bunch of notes, you have a lot of notebooks. Maybe it's time to let it go. If you're not planning on using it now or in the next 12 months, you can be realistic with yourself and be, I'm not going to need this. Yeah, same thing with bills. Once it's paid, once the action has been taken, you don't need to keep your bills. The receipts, the only receipts you actually need is if you have a business and you need to declare your expenses and to prove that you have you've paid things for the business, and you keep your receipts for 7 years. So put them in envelopes, in little envelopes, chuck it in there. Most likely you're never going to use it, the receipts ever again. And once the year has passed, you know, like it's year 8, you get rid of it. You don't need it. But you might need to prove that you have title over your home or your vehicle. So no paper clutter is the best. Okay, so we have paper clutter, and what is it preventing you from being or doing or experiencing? Think about the quantity of things you have in one particular category.
Plants?
Because you love plants.
I know, I do, I give them away a lot.
Yeah.
They propagate.
You love plants.
Yes.
Do they bring you joy?
They do, yes.
Does the quantity feel just right for you when you're home?
Right now it feels good, yes.
Okay.
Good. There have been times where it's like, there are too many and it's too much watering and I just
Okay.
get rid of some.
Well, then that's perfect. If the quantity feels right, if it brings you joy, if you look at it and you enjoy it, you get to keep it. Good. You got my seal of approval.
The other part, paintings from, I have a lot of stuff in my house from my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
And, it's like they're like the little sentimental things, and it's like, they just kind of clutter the shelves, but I don't want to get rid of the space because it's my grandma's. Or
Yes.
even though I don't use it for anything. I mean, it just sits on the shelf looking pretty.
Yes.
But it's that kind of stuff that I have a really hard time with. So.
Yes. And like we associate the memory of a loved one, a past loved one with the object. And so we want to keep all the objects that are related to them. And maybe there'll be a point where you'll be okay to just, out of all these objects that I've inherited from my loved one, which are the ones that are bringing me the most joy? Because I've inherited things from my own grandma. I've inherited some jewelry from the older days that I'm like, so part of me would feel like a little guilty that I would let go of them because it's from my grandma. She passed and I loved her. But at the same time, I'm never going to wear this jewelry. It's not my style. But I did end up, finally, it took me years, finally to be willing to ask Grandma, is that okay if I let this go? And Grandma, and she loved me, and she would want me to be happy, and she would not guilt trip me, and she would want me to just keep what would actually bring me joy. And so, with this knowledge, and I get a little emotional here, I let go. And I sold the jewelry, and I kept only a couple pieces that I was planning on actually using and looking at.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's one of the ways to conquer, for example, I love decluttering.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll get overwhelmed.
It is
Like let's say I begin and then now I'm just totally overwhelmed and I end up just putting everything back or finding a whole new spot for all this stuff. What's one way that I feel that I can use it as a tool to move past that moment and continue, or come back to it in a better space? Like, what's a way to bring myself back to center to move forward?
So it sounds to me that you've started chewing on a much bigger piece than you were capable to chew on from the get-go.
Okay.
So some decluttering and organizing or tiling methods advocate for bringing everything in one category into one giant pile and you go through that. Or you do an entire room and you go through that. Well, it depends on the stage of life you're in. So if you're a parent and you're working and you have a second job and you have an ailing parent and you have something else going on, you don't have too much inner space to be able to deal with a massive amount of objects. So it really depends. You have to know yourself and what you can truly do. So I would just chunk it down to a smaller, manageable amount. And if it needs to be today, I'm just going to open this drawer and go through this drawer, and that's it. What will be most valuable is for you to see the progress and the completion of this smaller piece, as opposed to going big and then crash, which I've done many times. So start small. And if you know you have a large quantity of things, you can do little 10-minute minutes or 15 minutes at a time. Put a timer on and be like, this is how much time I'm
Okay.
dedicating to that.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Any other input or questions about?
I've been trying to declutter because I have to have some windows put in. And they have to be able to get to
The windows?
spots.
Yeah.
And I find myself, I'll take all these things and put them all together, thinking, oh, this is the right thing to do. But then they don't fit where I'm going to put them, and then I end up moving them back, and I just kind of go back and forth.
Yes, because it's really, I'd say it's almost impossible to organize an area until you've actually fully minimized. So if you're trying to do both at the same time, you might need to make one step forward and a step back, and it doesn't look like you're actually making any progress. And we have to work with the space and the real estate we actually have. Unless you're planning on moving to a bigger house, you have to work.
Get more stuff.
Exactly. You have to work with the real estate you have. So if, let's say, I get into a house and I need to walk around, and there's things on both sides that high, and I can barely make my way through the room, and the dining room is full of things where you can't really actually sit and use. I'm going to say out of functionality, just for this room to be functional again, maybe 80% of its content needs to go. And it's going to be hard because, and I'm just giving you just a random example. It's not the case for everybody. Sometimes it's like, okay, this closet is bursting at the seams, and you have clothes in storage, you have clothes in tub, you have clothes in the attic, you have clothes here and there, and so you've exceeded the real estate you have. And you can either have the stuff, or you can have the space. And so sometimes to make it functional and usable, there could be some hard decisions to make. And this is something to figure out. What is the percentage of belongings that actually is too much and that needs to go? But out of it, I don't want people to feel like they're depriving themselves and like, oh, I don't want, and it shouldn't be a resistance situation. It needs to be a conscious awareness of what truly brings us joy and satisfaction, what's truly important to us, and we always go back to that. And unless this part is clear, everything else is going to be harder.
Diane, we want to do something where we steal one person, take them outside, and ask them why they're here.
Yeah.
While you're,
Okay,
two of us will stay in here
Sure.
and continue to film what you're doing. But instead of stopping and having one by one, everybody go out, we're going to steal one at a time and let you continue. Does that make sense?
That's fine with me. How about you guys? You cool with that? Okay. I would say it's almost
We have to be interviewed.
No.
Okay.
All right. Can we continue filming, or you wanna? Who wants to go?
Go ahead.
I can go first if you want, since I'm on the outside.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Let's get the first person.
Sure.
Who wants to be the first volunteer?
Just so you know, we have to cut in 5 minutes anyway, so if you want to get one more thing in before we do another cut, just because we're almost at 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. 5 more minutes. Now what we've talked about is one of the type of clutter, which is objects. But there's different kind of clutters, and they're kind of all intertwined. And we've talked about this too. The second type of clutter, right here, is projects. And the fewer things you have, the fewer projects you end up having. And the awareness of how many projects and things that should be doing and need to do is occupying a lot of brain space, and it's a bit stressful. So when you deal with this is automatically going to go down. project clutter. Digital clutter is a new reality of our lives, and that is really hard. And so being a bit more mindful about the apps we have on our phone, the social media we interact with, the Netflix content we watch, does this bring us joy and fulfillment and meaning? Does this bring us useful and helpful distraction at time? Or is this only distraction and making us feel overwhelmed and depressed and hopeless? That is also something we are kind of forced to deal with, and our children certainly have to deal with that. Mental clutter, same thing, it's also connected to our objects. There is a direct connection. If we work on our mental and emotional state, both, our relationship with objects get to improve as well. And same thing when we improve our relationship with our objects and our environment, then our mental space and our emotional space gets to open up too. There is one type of clutter I did not mention because it's a bit of a topic that I love, but it's relationship clutter. There are relationships in our lives that do not serve us. And it's hard, but unless there is some kind of improvement that happens with that, or more awareness in the relationship, then maybe it is cluttered and maybe it's not serving us. But that's a whole other topic. Any questions about these 5 types of clutter?
So I understand how the projects.
Cheryl, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've seen Cheryl, you've been trying to say something.
1 second, we just need to stop and start.
Yeah, stop for me.
Okay, and then just start
Do you
again.
have something you wanted to say too, Cheryl?
Well, I was gonna ask about books, but books, how to get rid of books, I have a lot of books.
Okay, why do you have a lot of books in the first place?
I collect them, I see them, they look interesting, like I'll be over at Dove's and I'll think, oh, this looks really good, but I never read it.
So it would fall into truly the category of projects. So you added a project. Every time you take a new book that you're not actually going to read, it becomes a project. And so the more books that are unread on the shelves, the more projects you have for you, right? And so you can ask yourself a simple question, and that's going to be part of my little handout here. Questions to ask yourself about my belongings. Right here, I'm going to give you all one. Question 1, do I love it? Do I love it? Is it so useful in my life? I use the stuff all the time. It stays, okay? That's the key pile. Second question, you can ask yourself, have I used it in the last 12 months? If it's an object that has a functional use, like a screwdriver or like a camera, and if I haven't used it in the last 12 months, actually used it, the chances I'm going to use it again in the next 12 months is very, very slim. So it occupies space and it's clutter. And same thing with your projects. Any kind of projects, for me, my question about projects is, and I limit my projects that are not related to work, earning money, getting food, washing, and taking care of others, is I'm not really planning on reading this or on doing this piece of art within the next 3 months. And that's my timeline. For you, maybe it's going to be 12 months. If I haven't read this book within the next 12 months, it goes. And you can look at each and every single of your books. Am I really going to read this in the next 12 months? And then it's a question between you and you. It's not right, it's not wrong. And some of them will jump out of you like, yes, I really want this book. I really want to read it. But then you kind of made a commitment to yourself. And you let go of the non-essential reads.
I think I should write in pencil the dates I
it could be 12 months, it could be 1 month. You can challenge yourself and be like, out of all these books, which are the books that I really want to use within the next the next month? And also, a key question is, do I really need to own this? Can I go to the library and get the same kind of knowledge and information and enjoyment of the book if I rent it, if I borrow it? Do I need to own it? Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And the third question is, could someone else enjoy this item more than I do? Because every object is potentially functional, but it doesn't mean it's functional for you in your life now. It might have been functional in the future. It might be functional in 20 years from now, but is it functional for you now and in the next 12 months? Are you planning on truly using it? Because otherwise it can go. You can give it. And these are our 3 piles, and I'm going to pass it around. So we have, these are the 3 questions, and you can have, if you could just pass it around. From this, you basically, from these 3 questions, you make a decision. And it's basically a keep or not keep decision, that's all. It's basically a keep or a give. Do you want to? Can you bring it back?
Serve the sound pads as well, or just the cameras?
And so, if you're definitely gonna use it in the last 12 months, you have used it in the last 12 months, and you enjoy it, you keep it. And so it stays in the keep pile. Otherwise, it goes to the give pile, or sometimes the trash pile. Because sometimes when we haven't used objects for a long time, they've not been maintained, they used to be functional, but they become trash because everything ends up disintegrating. And so for some of my clients, things that I've been wanting to use for a long time ends up in the dump. And so if the object is not being used, it's not being maintained, and it doesn't serve its purpose. So somebody else could also enjoy that piece better. So in the keep pile, think about the things that you use daily. If you use it all the time, it stays. Sometimes it's seasonal items. And it's okay to have seasonal items, but they shouldn't be in the front and occupying the main real estate and cupboards that you use all the time. If you use them just for Christmas or for Thanksgiving, it goes in a little storage, a tub or something, and it's out of the way. The sentimental, you could definitely have a sentimental box or crate, or maybe a cabinet. And then
Not a room?
You can have a shrine. You can have a room that turns into a shrine. It's really personal, but let's not go into this.
Neil has a cool shrine.
He has a baseball shrine.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I saw pictures.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Neil's become a bit of a minimalist, and he's become really good at realizing the objects that he really wants. So when sometimes friends and the library or the kid program or the school give him some little plastic toys, a little this and that, and plush pillows and all this cool, cute gadget, he used to bring it into the house, and now he says,
I don't want it.
He says, I don't want it. Exactly. But you say yes to what you want. What did you bring into the house yesterday? That was a gift from your coach. Yeah.
Baseball that has all my teammates sign for baseball, and a bat that I'm going to use for practice, and I already used it.
Okay, there you go. The project is, I'm bringing it in because I'm going to use it, and the next day he actually uses it. Bravo, bravo.
Okay, let's cut for a second. We need to change the battery. And then who wants to go out next?
Cheryl, I think Dan has it, if you want to be the answer, Dan.
I didn't hear you.
Did you want to be interviewed?
Okay.
Well, Dan specifically asked for you. That's why. Oh, of course you there.
I need to change the battery.
I think we're almost done, guys. Like we have a little bit of energy.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure. I do a free consultation, just like let's talk about what is and let's see what's going on. Yeah, sure.
Hold on a minute. This is dark. Grace, come here for a minute.
I did something good the other day.
You did?
I saved,
I thought you were asking
things
me
to
Oh, no.
recycle,
Yes. I didn't know you were asking me.
I gave up and put it all in that big blue recycling bin up front, and it's gone,
The
and I
sun's
got
going
rid of it.
down.
Makes you feel
The
good.
light might be
Yes.
changing.
Okay.
But were you planning on
Because
keeping the
mine
recycling
It's changing
and
too.
bring
Yeah.
it to the
Okay.
recycling center to earn a few cents here and
Yeah,
there?
last
What
time
did
I
the
saved
light,
for like
did
2
you turn off
years,
that
I
light?
got
Or did you-
$15.
Was it,
Oh,
and
is-
did it bring you a lot of enjoyment to stay for 2 years and get $15? Was it worth it?
Actually, I spent the $15 on something fun, so
Yes.
I did feel okay about it.
Yes, but for you, 2
But-
years you had the clutter.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
trade-off.
Yeah,
Just turn
so
it
this
down.
time it was like, I'm just gonna get rid of it,
Yes,
and I did feel better.
good,
That's better.
yes. It worked better for you?
It's hard, but
We had to make that same decision.
you had to do that too.
Well, with like soda cans or, stuff like that, instead of saving it and having, and then waiting and then having to put it in your car, we're like, just put it in the recycle and,
Yeah.
too much space.
Yeah. So you declutter a project.
We're one step ahead.
Yes,
You know what I've noticed that has happened to me, and I'm not gonna put it out there because it's a curse. I've kept things, projects, for so long, and then eventually I'm like, it's time. I'm gonna get rid of this project or this costume because I do auditions all the time or whatever projects that come up, and I'm keeping things I'm like, I'll use that as a costume once, and it never happens until the minute I get rid of it.
Exactly.
And then the day after I have that project that is like, hey, do you have that bike that, nope, I just got rid of it. Hey, do you have that wig that you, nope, I just got rid of it. And I'm so afraid to let go of any of my projects because I feel like they manifest the minute I get rid of something.
Okay, then you have a curse.
So it is a curse, okay.
So how did you deal with the aftermath of not having the object? Besides that,
Well, then didn't do the project. The bike thing, I got a stroller came, looking for wheels, and I got rid of the wheels, and the wheels got here. I'm just mad and disappointed, and unless it's replaced.
So
Hold on a minute, I'm sorry. But we want to capture this in film. We're having camera problems because Dan left us.
Dan leaves. It's so annoying. So I'm like, so do I have to get rid of the project for it to manifest? To get that one good audition that I've been waiting to wear this thing for 10 years? Or
that's the strategy.
Pretend you're doing it.
yeah. Look at that universe! It's in the trash!
did you end up using another outfit? Because you couldn't go naked, right?
We ended up buying more stuff to replace the stuff that I was keeping. So, and I'm so happy it's actually coming back with the Ted and the ranch because the improv we're doing an old western theme, and I shot a short movie of a old western theme my first year in LA, so that's like 12 years ago, and I've been holding on to those western things. They're in my shed, and I did not get rid of them this time. Because I was like, we have the improv coming up at the end of June, we're gonna use those costumes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But it's not the 12-month thing.
No.
That's
It's
where I
just-
struggle.
Yeah. This is just an indication. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's hard with like creative things like
costumes and, yeah.
My daughters are into theater, and so we had that. We had an entire closet dedicated to costumes.
Yes.
So I just factory packed them in bags, and now I have them in like 4 bins. So I figure I can deal with 4 bins of costumes. But I'm like that too. But I mean, I encouraged it. You know, I love to dress up any like occasion. You know, so.
And you never know when we're gonna do a sketch comedy, or like we're gonna need this wig or this thing. But I like the vacuum
bags. Yeah, those are handy. Yeah.
I bought a bunch of them.
Yeah. Get to
Those
use
are blocking
the-
your windows, no?
And you need to label what's inside too.
Yes.
Because you could forget. Yeah,
True.
you're like trying to look and remember what it was. Yeah.
Tell us, Dan,
Yes,
are we still good? Are we rolling? Are we not?
we are rolling, yeah. If you wanna
Okay,
get
cool.
back on track, we're back in business.
Okay, so you were mentioning about letting go of some object that you hadn't used in a while, and the minute you let go of it, like literally almost the next day, you actually need it.
Yeah.
And you're cursed.
So it is just a curse.
It's a curse.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then I don't want to put it out there so nobody else gets cursed.
No,
And
no,
you're
no.
cursed too.
What I'd love to point out is that if it doesn't follow this guideline of it hasn't been used in 12 months, therefore the chances that it's going to be used in 12 months is not going to happen, or it's very slim. You can extend it to 2 years, but I mean, yes, anything longer than that might not really serve you, because we change as human beings. So the me that I am now is definitely not the same me as 5 years ago. And same with you guys, the you you're going to be in 5 years is going to be different yet again. But you can also have like a pause bucket or or shelf where it's like it's on its way out, I think, and it's in this area, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not ready to make the decision. So you can have a little area like that where it's pending, but give it an expiration date, and it's you can choose that for yourself, or you can fully universe, like you said. It's going in the trash. I know.
I've done that at work because my brother will be like, well, we shouldn't throw this away, I'm gonna fix it, you know? And so I literally take a box and say, you know, if we haven't used this, or if it hasn't been fixed by, you know, I think we actually still have boxes from like 2014, but if it hasn't been, you know, fixed by this date, we're tossing it, you know?
Yes.
So it does kind of work.
It
So,
works.
yeah.
Because sometimes it gives you this sense of urgency,
Yeah,
especially with
Because
projects.
I know it's not gonna be fixed, but it
Yeah.
kind of appeases him, so I
Yeah.
keep it for a year, and then it does not get fixed, and so it goes in the trash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does he know when it goes in the trash or no?
Yeah,
He
right,
doesn't miss
it.
it.
No,
Yeah.
still hasn't asked about anything.
Most of the time, it's not that, you don't miss it, or if you have to
Yeah.
replace it, you're like, well, darn, okay.
Yeah.
But at least that was going out of my life for 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever, you know.
And what is the worst that would happen? If you let go of something and then you need it, what's the worst that would happen?
You'll get another one?
You can buy another one, you can borrow another one, you can rent another one, you go, hey neighbors, hey Facebook friends, I need this, do you have it? I'm going to a wedding, I got rid of my nice dress, you know, and then you will find that you will still have access to it. And yes, worst case scenario, you can order it off of Amazon. That's fine. But there's really so many other options. And you might realize that you actually will be more resourceful because your creativity will start to blossom, and you'll be realizing, is there anything in my home that can do the same job? And you will find out that one object can serve more than one purpose a lot of the time. And so we had this little situation with my husband. Do you want to be on the spot, honey? No, it's just a recent example. Where you feel comfortable right now about the cutting the grass. All right, what was the situation? You went to the DIY store.
I don't know, I was asking if we had, if we trim weeds or cut weeds?
Okay, and my answer was, no, we don't. No, we don't have, I mean, we don't have a weed whacker, or we don't have a whatever, thighs, or one of those giant scissors. No, we don't have those. We used to have the giant scissors that would rust and then you can't use it. And you're like, gosh, I left it in the rain and now it's ruined after one season. Anybody can relate to the gardening projects. And so I was like, well, what do we need? Do we need maybe just to pull the weeds? I have this bread knife that I use for everything. I cut everything with this bread knife. Like, I can use a bread knife to cut a bit of grass. Now, if I have 3 acres, I'm not going to go about and use the bread knife. I might ask a neighbor, ideally who has a tractor of some kind, or giant weed whacker, or I might hire somebody to do this kind of work. But yes, we have other options we can use more often than we think. So that's the keep pile. Use daily, seasonally, some sentimental backstock. There might be items that need to be relocated, and projects. What are the projects we actually need to keep? And I love your idea of putting a timeline on it. And yeah, that's what I do too. And giving to people we know, but don't give your unwanted items without checking in with people to make sure they actually want it. Don't come with a giant bag full of stuff and give it to your friend or drop it out there in front of their door to say, hey, I thought you might like this. Or like, hey, I got this for you, without checking in that this is actually what they want. Because you would be potentially creating a clutter for them unless you know them really well. You know what brings them joy and the objects they use all the time or they need to see replaced. Just don't do that without asking permission. And you can give to nonprofits and thrift stores. We have 4 thrift stores in Big Bear. We have the Dove, and they're all on the Big Bear Boulevard. We have Dove thrift store. We have Fine Stuff, which has a yellow front. We have a Hummingbird. All these are in Big Bear City, and the one in Big Bear Lake is for the senior center. Give them a call and say, I have these kinds of donations. Do you accept those now? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Right? And sell, you can always sell if you want to sell things, but you actually need to sell it. So people may want to have the intention to sell their objects, and 3 years later, they still haven't done it. So most likely, you can donate it all because it may not happen. And then trash, you have to figure out whether it's regular trash, whether it's recycling. I think we all have those skills by now. But some items like batteries and paints are hazardous material. Think of syringes, think of medication. You can't just throw it all in the trash like that. They need to be in the right place. And you can also do a dump run. So there you go. You've got those 3 questions. Do I love it? Have I used it in the last 12 months? Could someone else enjoy it more than I do? And I have a bonus question that's super fun that I've heard about recently. It's a funny story. So I follow this minimalist gal, I should say, and she was out with her family, spread her picnic blanket to have a picnic at the park. And when it's time to roll the blanket, she realizes there's dog poo on the bottom of the blanket. And she's like, who wants to deal with it? So she had to ask herself the question, do I toss this, put it in the trash, or do I bring it back into my house? And if you're not going to bring it back into your house, it means you really like it a lot. And so she decided to bring it back into her house and to actually clean it. And so that's kind of your bonus question. If you have a hard time of letting go of things, you can ask yourself, if this was covered in poo, would I actually clean this up? Or would I rather toss it? Is it so important and valuable that I keep it? And so I think about a gift that my husband gave me. And if it was covered in that poo, yes, I would clean it up and I would keep it. And it's sentimental and it means a lot. So this is the extra questions. Are you guys ready to empty your purse or whatever you brought out? We're gonna do a mini practice of decluttering. A purse, anything from your car.
Oh, my car is so
Oh.
big. Decluttering though. My car is my huge purse.
There's your purse. There's your purse.
Yes.
All right, empty the whole content onto the table in front of you.
Every pocket.
Everything, yes.
Oh, what are we gonna
Yes, I know, I'm like, oh. The hands-on piece. Empty your
You have a purse inside your
Yes.
purse.
I can switch purses daily.
That is so smart.
I love it, yeah.
Okay.
There's no other junk in that purse?
No,
Yeah,
there's nothing
legal
else in
keys,
here.
Just
right.
think of my keys, bro.
Right.
Yeah, you know,
That's it, yeah.
All right, empty your pockets. Those who didn't bring any purse, empty all the pockets and everything you have on you. And yeah, are you loving it already?
There's a candy. I'm really revealing a lot.
Hey guys, we know each other now. This is a safe, non-judgmental space, and it's totally fine.
So that's the
Yes, it is. Or you need a little
Most of my
Ziploc.
stuff's not for use.
A what? A Ziploc, just to put some medicine in it. Whatever. Oh, yeah.
cat.
Let's
Is your car unlocked?
And that's a great idea.
Very much.
When you're gonna enter
I'm
your car.
gonna get my wallet.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll grab my,
A crown.
That's actually.
Maybe
I've been a waitress for many years, and I used to say things like that. The people would, to give me a $1 tip, they would make it into something.
Oh,
And it was so precious. Those are things that I would keep.
yes. Yes. Good memory. Yes. All right. I think. Can we
Is that
continue?
lavender? Your little squirt bottle?
No.
Okay, we'll keep on unraveling.
Oh.
Maybe you want me to also empty my bag. How about that?
Yeah, Diane.
All right, come on, Diane. Just up on the spot. Okay.
I have the most junk.
That's just because mine would be more junk, but I had to switch. I was forced to switch.
Okay. And you guys are going to make 3 piles. 1 keep, 1 give, 1 trash. So to the left is going to be keep, and follow the guidelines of these 3 questions. And maybe use the bonus question of the poop. All right, why do you keep all and we have
Diane,
empty
can
content.
Can you do that from your seated position again? You're just out of your light.
Sure.
See, I wish I had those in my purse too.
What?
That's headphones. Because those are in the jacket that I used in winter.
Relocate, is that another?
So we're only going to do 3 piles. Keep to the left, give in front of you, and trash to the right. I've done this many times, guys. The more practice you have, the easier it gets. But we're doing this on a small scale, so you get to practice at home with a drawer or something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, if I emptied my console.
Right? I need to get that done.
Okay. Because that's the kind of stuff I have in there. That would be good.
And are you making your piles? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Do you need any guidance?
What are the side of it?
Here it's keep, give, or trash. Keep to the left, give in the middle, trash to the right. We don't have much space, so we
keep it.
Oh, I have to roll it. No, it's that deeper.
I did it.
You did it.
That's like, I just ordered my phone.
She has 4 pairs of what?
I can give one box for somebody.
But sometimes you need 4 pairs. I'm only gonna keep the iPhone one. There's 2 iPhones.
Yeah, cause those old plugs don't work anymore.
That's so cute. Would you like a pair of headphones?
Okay, who needs a little help?
I don't.
That's funny because I cannot tell you.
Not that I don't keep a rock on my porch. I have a rock that looks like a heart.
So some of
Lives
them
on
are
my
you.
porch.
I'm sure I use all of them, but I cannot tell you which.
Which is right. So, okay,
That sounds
okay.
good.
So, how many keys do you actually need?
No, I think I need all of them, but some of them they are on my tray or a lot of lockers and stuff like that. So just when I travel or camp,
Yeah.
so that's it, you know. And although it's on the shed or
Yes.
some locks.
Do you need to have all of these keys with you at all times?
No, but that's what I did.
That's what you did, okay. Because it's more like, some of these keys could be more like seasonal, once in a blue moon you use them, or do you use them every weekend?
I mean, actually, you know, it's the rain that you know. I think this one is for the house, yeah, for the house.
That's a lot.
This one is a camping. Oh yeah, this one is for the camping. For this
Yes.
case. And this is just a car. You know.
You don't need my help, this is already minimizers.
See, yeah.
Natalie, I found decluttering. I found the key you gave me once. You know, attached to one of these.
Oh, yeah.
So I have it somewhere.
Okay, and as people are finishing going through their personal, their purse or their car items, who would like to, explain their piles? Who wants to start? You can start, okay.
So I don't have a lot of, I keep kind of like a man bag, kind of just miscellaneous things, not really like a purse or a wallet, but, I have buff. I have
what?
heat buff, like a, you know, like a.
Oh, a face. Call it buff.
Yeah. I have like a massage tool, little container of like snacks, nuts, and then I have a notebook. And then immediately I can kind of see, like, I'm an avid note taker and journaler. This one is from like 2016, and I have my current one actually on, no, not on me, but I realized that I probably don't need this one, so I can get, so this would be my keep, because I use these regularly. I don't have a give pile, and I have a trash pile, so I can kind of see that.
Why is your notebook in your trash pile?
Cause I've had it in my bag thinking that I was going to look through it, but I have not, so.
So you haven't used it in the last 12 months? You haven't looked at what's in it?
Well, I have in the last 12 months, but I've already looked at it,
Okay,
and
so you've taken action on what you wish to do, therefore the project is complete, and you're willing to not keep the objects anymore.
correct, yeah.
That's great, great job. Okay, Cheryl, you look down.
This is my trash pile. This is my give and this is my keep. I have a lot of things I have to keep.
Okay, do you want to explain how you went about this process, why you decided to keep?
I will explain the ones I want to give. These were reading glasses, which I thought were really cute. But I don't need them anymore because I got this. It's from Thin Optics and it's attached to my phone. And my glasses are right here. So if I have my phone, I have my reading glasses. So I don't need any other reading glasses ever.
Wonderful. That's So you have upgraded and let go of the things that is like this before.
I hope you notice the card is not getting.
That's fine, because that's, what is not important is the paper, it's the knowledge.
That's right. Totally. This goes in my save pile.
You can take a photo of it if you don't wanna keep the paper clutter.
Okay.
The problem I have with that is they get lost in my pictures.
Yes.
They do, they get lost.
They
And I
do.
don't know what to do
I
about
have
that.
that problem.
So if you're planning on taking actions, you can keep the paper until you've taken action, you've acquired the knowledge, you've practiced the knowledge, then you can let go of it. Imagine if any of you went to school, you kept your school papers, you kept your textbooks from college, and with the best intention, I'm going to go back and revisit this piece of knowledge, but chances are you haven't. Or you've taken a course, like I have taken quite a few courses, and I really do go back to the textbooks or the paper because I've already acquired knowledge. And the only reason why I would keep the paper is if I want a reminder, physical reminder to take action. Thank you. Is there more that you wanted to explain about the photo
Well,
files?
this is my throwaway pile. This was a reminder that we renewed a prescription for my hubby.
Okay.
And this, I've upgraded my mask so I can throw paper. And I have some bills and things, paperwork I've already paid, so. it's
Done. Perfect. Project completed.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Me? Oh. Yeah, most of mine is I wanna keep it, because it's stuff I use all the time. So, and then, use chopstick, and I get hungry and stuff. This is my trash pile.
Okay.
I have plenty of trash, and then,
Give me the
this is
candy.
my gift pile. If anyone needs a paper clip. I meant to put that in my gift pile. Now it's a gift to you.
I'm noticing you both have
Perfect. That's great.
But I'm doing this one already. We're keeping it on.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm noticing you have two types of chapsticks. And do you use both? You alternate?
I do. I prefer the Burt's Bees, but this has sunblock, and so when I go running or when I go outside, I have to use the sunblock.
Okay.
one. But I don't like it as much, so I use both of them. But I go through a lot of chapsticks, so.
Yeah. I got mine. This was for today. Today's chopsticks are cuter too. And this is my everyday chopstick.
You want to do a Peter also?
Well, thank you for sharing. Who's next?
Sure. So this is the center council in my card, right? Oh, I'm not even done actually. Okay. So this is my trash. Okay, old cards, old makeup. Well, that's not trash. But
Goes back to the.
Is that a
it's
special
like
box?
not even. I don't even know why it's. I don't know. Does it have to look like
So
a heart?
different.
Maybe you
So
know,
different.
one. Okay, so if anybody wants some Big Bear Marina pants, this is really cool. I might keep it.
If you're using it, yes.
Oh, it lights up?
It lights up, so if
Oh.
you need to, you're right, I'll keep it. And then this is really cool too, but I feel like Leo could use it more than me, because you're like a little
Those are
ranger.
so handy though.
Yeah, so I don't know if you, am I allowed to offer it to you?
It's in the gift pile.
It's in the gift pile,
Yes.
so gifts open, and
Don't do that, I'll pay.
I don't need all of these for sure, so I'm only going to keep the fancy iPhone one. And this I need, because this is to charge it's for my Airbnb stuff. Okay. So this is my key cloud.
Okey-doke. Thank you for explaining. And I see there's foundation, are you giving that away too? Or
This
that's-
is trash. That's like emergency makeup, but I don't need it anymore. I don't use that much makeup anymore. So this is to give away.
Mm-hmm.
No, one of them is broke. I was missing a piece, so. I'll throw it. Okay.
Wonderful. Debbie, I think you're next.
I don't have much in this purse because I had to minimalize to get around town.
Sure.
To walk from place to place, but I am noticing that my keys, I do have extra keys. I have my truck now has to have 2 keys because they changed the ignition. So I have a door key and the other key. But then I have my spare key that I've never put away, because I always like to keep a spare key. And then I just have my house key, my back door key, my post office key. And then I have my key from my Mammoth house because, well, it's not my Mammoth, I was renting a house in Mammoth and he told me I could come back. So I don't throw this away because I'm still hoping to come back because that's my emotional thing.
Yes.
And then these I have to keep in there because I don't have the cool thing like she's got. And sometimes I just can't see. Tic Tacs, I need these in there because sometimes I have bad breath. And I have 2 ID wallets because one is for when I go into a grocery store and one is for when I need my real ID for things. And these are stuffed full, I guess, of, well, mostly credit cards that I use, but then I have like an old credit card. I don't know why that's still in there. I don't use it anymore. That should be my throwaway pile.
Exactly. If you don't use it, it goes. And the extra key that is with the same set of keys maybe can be relocated to a place of hiding
Yes.
in case. Yes.
Yes.
So relocation of objects is also.
Relocated. And I have a little bit of paper in here, but one has to be turned in, and then the other one is doctor's instructions, so I'm not ready to throw that away yet, because I haven't learned everything that he's told me yet.
Okay, action, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mio, do you want to explain the pile? Is this your key?
Or give it?
Are you planning on wearing it? Are you using it? Okay, good. That's great, honey. Okay, Chrissy.
Okay, well, I mean, that's the only thing I'm gonna throw away, and I feel like maybe I should keep the Band-Aid. But, no, I mean, maybe I don't need 4 pens, but I always like to have a pen on me, and I know other people need pens too when I go to meetings, so, you know. I like that, and then, yes, and I do feel like I need to justify my keys, because I like to have a big wad of keys, because I can always find them. When I have little keys, I lose them, so I have a lot of work keys, so yeah, at least they're all organized, but I like my big wad of keys, so I'm not doing that. Yeah, I do have an extra lipstick, I guess I can bring that home. Everything else I like.
Okey-doke. Thank
You
you.
have handy things in there too.
Yeah.
Measuring tape.
So
I always have a measuring tape in my purse, yes.
So we can come to you for any supplies
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah, actually, this is Christoph's, so these are my eye drops, these are his, so I do carry them for him.
That is very kind. That is very, very kind, yes.
Can carry this one if you want to.
We don't outsource our belongings and have somebody else deal with it. You're responsible for yes, Chris, yes. But I know men have they've got pockets, but they don't really wear purses, so where do you put all your things?
Oh, put in good pockets, you know.
Okay, you got good pockets, so let's use
Deep pocket and short arms, so I'm just kidding.
Perfect. So tell us about you.
A phone. Yeah, I need a phone.
The phone.
Everybody needs a phone. Right?
You keep it all.
I wear it.
Okay.
All the card I need.
Yes. And all the keys on it.
Yeah. All the keys, like I explained, every ring is related to something. So that's the house, and that's for my trailer, and camping. And these are I love them because they were free. They were from the dentist.
Looking great. Looking great.
So that's it.
So you love it, you use it, you keep it.
Yeah.
But if you have several of the same item, and you're like, oh, I may use them just in case, maybe you pick and choose the one that you prefer so that you don't keep excess. Because if you keep the one that you prefer, you're gonna take better care of this one thing than if you have an option of 5 different items and you're like, well, but at least I have a backup. So our the way we care for our object is going to increase with a fewer amount. You know. How about you?
I have my trash pile, which is a lot of paper and old cards. Oh, her movie theater closed, and I have old Metro card, like lots of cards from like when I got my car fixed or was here or that, and I just put it in there and never took it out.
Business cards. Business cards is a problem.
paper.
Yes.
My gift pile is this senior camping pass, which I need to give back to a friend. And then my keep is money. I have a couple of receipts here that I need because we bought soil. I bought soil with a neighbor, so you know, just to show that. Leftover money on a captain's gift card. That was a tip. And then yeah, these cards: library card, Costco card, gift cards.
Cool. Are you planning on using all of the gift cards?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And license and icon pass and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Like
sharing.
That's very important.
Yes.
So are you growing with your neighbor?
Questions. Guys, thank you for doing this mini exercise. You can take this exact exercise and practice it at home in a little area or bigger area. Do you guys have any questions before we wrap up?
What do we do?
Everything was crystal clear.
How do we work with you? Why don't you
How
explain
much
how
do you
that works?
cost?
So working with me is very simple. You just take my phone number, you give me a call, I'd like to meet, I do a free consultation, we look around, and I give you a plan of action. And either you go and do it by yourself, or you hire me to help you for the first few times. And each session, the first session is probably 2 to 3 hours, so it's a little block, and we focus on a specific area. And then maybe there's another session that we schedule, and then we see how things go. And yes, so an initial assessment is needed for me because I have said, yes, I can do kitchens. And then I go into the kitchen space and I'm like, what did I commit myself to? And so I'd rather have a look and have a discussion. And sometimes people think that their space is completely unmanageable and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this mess. And I'm like, no, this is no big deal. You know, like you think it's unsurmountable, but I can see where everything fits. My brain scans the room and I can tell you have enough space, but they don't see it. So it might be reassuring for them to know that that's the case. So every person is unique, and that's how, take my phone number, send me a text message, and we stay in touch. And and I'll come to your house for 20 minutes. We have a nice cup of tea or coffee, and we'll make it fun.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This gives me a little.
For being vulnerable and willing to learn and trying something fun and giggling, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Yay!
I think we want to, and Dan, did you want to interview them?
Thank you.
Yes.
You're the only two.
Don't cut my trash.
I think Natalie, right?
Yeah.
Can I put the camera?
Does
Yep.
anybody want?
That's a cut.
You didn't want to.
I'm very proud.
I don't think we interviewed her.
We have to talk.
Huh?
Yeah, we have.
Oh.
So I can remove
There
this.
you go.
Yeah, you can cut some.
How to get a hold of
No,
you?
I just
Did?
want to
I didn't mention my number. Did I mention my number?
It's not.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, well, there you go, it'll be to me.
Just my phone number. It's easier.
And where can we read those stories? Is it just with the group when people can share it?
Okay.
That was actually nice. I've been wanting to read
I know, right? I gotta run through my receipts.
Because I tried to do one twice the other day and
I just got my number.
I had to put everything. Well, not everything. I'm not great. That'd be great practice.
It's okay.
Oh, thank you. Have you been over at the car? You're being so helpful.
Decades ago, this is the last time.
Where's the trash? There.
Well, I was feeling all whiny when I was sent out to.
This woman was interesting.
I should give this to you.
We're gonna,
I was whining and she gets extras.
right now, we're just filming.
Extras for the TV news.
Oh,
You do? Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. I need it. I need it.
Tell everybody, it's, you know, just saying. There's a lot on there already, but.
Yeah, I used to work there, so.
Look at how small this is now.
So it's
Much better.
just like YouTube study or,
Yeah, I
you
used
know,
to work there.
remote. Our development company's actually in Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah. So, partially
So Kat, I will.
some delays.
What did you do there? I was I don't know what I'll be doing.
That's actually not in that chat. I started working there as an instructor.
Oh, no.
She was also a team yoga coach
Yeah.
for the past few years. So that's all like freestyle crazy stuff. And
The Thanksgiving scene where they come and there's no food.
she's amazing.
And I'm one of the church ladies that is hosting.
Like,
Yeah. Very fun.
So I can met Lisa.
Right. That was the first one I was a part of that.
Is so good.
Yeah, I think she didn't have me and I don't think it's still with somebody else.
What's funny is that, so we had connected through the improv or other stuff, and then recently she
Yeah,
went,
Ryan.
Virginia.
and Ryan, and recently she went to the funeral of an old acting teacher, and she reconnects with students in the class, and one of them was like, yeah, one of my friends moved to Big Bear, she opened up an improv thing, and he says like, is her name Kat? And I was like, yes, and then they sent me a picture with Nina, who I was in Harvard class 12 years ago. And I was like, wow, this is
And I think I can so well throw out. I love to sit and, you know, plus I take.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get rid of all that.
I need to get rid of
Look up here,
a lot of things.
Because you know, I never have exactly what it was.
Well, I did this in, not like
We
this,
did the
but
thing with the director of the and
Oh.
and at the last minute,
so
they told
lost
us
in
they wanted
downtown LA. And nobody was really
traditional,
downtown LA.
old
So
style.
I'm trying to tell the story to get
So I,
our message down to find more people that can contribute to.
and
our
and then
community and-
I found this dress that was in red and green.
Okay.
Yeah, they liked it, so it was that underneath the tweed coat, and then we were on roller skates. So
That's so
cool.
cool.
I didn't have any, so I had to use theirs.
It was possible.
So then I bought their roller skates.
Yeah, and you're not gonna use it
Not
without
for
me
a little
right
while.
now.
And when I do start roller skating again, I'm gonna be happy.
Oh, yeah. And knee brace is always good. You know, when I ski, sometimes I use my knee brace.
What else can you do?
Yeah, well, luckily my girlfriend's
Getting the stories out
husband,
there, showing the
who's
rest
the
of
one
what we
that I
do.
followed,
Here.
did his knee brace on me, and it was great because I wouldn't have been able to drive home because I had a bunch.
I think people are here for.
Today.
And I'm not thinking.
Yeah, but they freed up my knee, so it's much easier. Such a pleasure to meet you. And what's your name? Natalie. The t-shirt person.
Yeah.
Because to me, each t-shirt is like an event.
No, and it has the year and
T-shirts.
I use them for sleeping pajamas.
I have some sentimental shirts from when my dad was
built a runner, and then
from like the 80s.
It's
kind of crazy.
Your dad, her dad passed away 2 years ago, so she had to go through going through his stuff.
Yeah, that's
The yard sale you had with his shirts and shoes were like a whole fence long of just beautiful shirts and t-shirts and button-up shirts and. But then you're right, then it's left to whoever's left to deal with her shit.
My children told me they're just gonna back up the junk trucks in the house and empty it out.
Well, then make a pile of things you don't want them.
I have $100 bills in there, so they won't do that.
I do.
Yeah, back in early 90s.
Oh, really?
Back when my sunglasses.
Yeah, like 2011, 12 when we were there. 11, 13.
Okay. So, well, you know how that's all organized, and they're very intentional. At least when I was there, how they, shows they've got.
Thank you. Sorry. See that was there.
Yeah, I don't know about the shows that,
I'm gonna get back to my.
Yeah. So that was my initial training.
Okay.
I'm trying to bring some of that
Yeah, I'm almost done with this.
Hollywood magic
Yeah.
to our mouth.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for participating.
Yeah, thank you.
Meeting is probably tomorrow.
You need to be interviewed. Can we have her interview?
Oh, you got that interview too?
I will thank you for being here.
Okay. Alright.
Thursday. Dan, tell you what we're doing? We're doing a little show before the show.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like Disney. You know, I'm putting up the red curtain.
Okay.
So you guys can pop your hands out like this. And then we have the curtains in the back that you can hide and. No, I haven't. I got it all handled.
I know.
We're gonna have the red carpet. Thank you. Okay. I don't know, ask Dan. He's been telling me.
Is this gold piece?
I don't know whose those are.
I think they were silver.
Could they be Dan's?
I think so. I'm guessing that they're Dan's.
You wanna wave bye?